Hello, welcome to the MiniMapCast. My name is Jeremy. I am joined by Kerry.
Hello, it's me.
Hi, Kerry. How's it going? How's your week? How's your Monday?
It's going okay. I'm pretty I had more drinks than I meant to on Saturday, and I'm 31 now, so it's taken me, I think, literally up until like an hour ago to recover, which is a full 48 hours. So I had a great time on Saturday night, and and the last 48 hours I've been a slug.
People tell me
going?
People tell me that's going to start happening to me one day, and I just don't believe them. I've just decided that, like, I don't think that's ever going to affect me. I think I'm just going to stay roughly. Yeah, I'm gonna stay roughly in my late 20s forever, and I will refuse to accept the passage of time as a thing that affects me.
Well, when you figured out how to hit that switch, you let me know. I'd love to find it myself.
Yeah, but I think it's like one of those things where, like, the moment you accept it affects you, you can't go back and say, actually, no, it doesn't anymore.
See, the thing is, it's not like I decided it was going to affect me on the weekend. It's just that it like havoc was wreaked upon my mental state and my body, and it was the only conclusion to draw at the end of the day.
Havoc was wreaked.
Start of the day
was wreaked in the form of gin and tea, gin and tonics.
Yeah, gin and tonics. They indeed floored me. I had a great time on Saturday night, though. It was a good time.
Good.
How are you going?
Good. I've not been floored by gin and tonics, but that's actually because I just don't drink gin that much. It's not my go-to drink. That being said, anytime anyone's like, I've got this nice gin, do you want to try it? I'm always like, yes, I do want to try it. And I have a sip. Yes. I'm like, still not for me.
I mean, I don't think I'd ever go for gin on its own.
No, but I mean, as in like if someone is like, hey, like, here's this nice gin that I bought, you want a mixed drink with it? You want to like whatever, like I think as gin is usually quite florally. It's quite it's usually quite a like a fruit naturey type flavor. And I don't love florally drinks a lot of the time. They're quite overwhelming, like hibiscus and stuff. Like even different teas. Like I don't love a floral tea. I like more of a breakfasty tea, I think, for the most part.
Do you like things with rose water in them, like baked goods with rose water? I've never really got that.
Not really. Like I'm not against it. Like in food, it's a little bit different, but even then, like I usually prefer more of a fuller drink, I think. So
it's just full of roses, not rose water.
Yeah, no, like as long as like like if you tell me it's got the stems, like I'm in, like I'm there.
Yeah. Blended thorns.
Blended
delicious.
Thorns. I like a nice cutting flavor.
Sharp.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the MiniMapCast, minimap.com.au's premier video games podcast. Minimap.com.au is an independent Australian games website. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you tell your friends and give the show a positive rating wherever you listen to your podcast. It makes a huge difference, and it only takes a few seconds. If you want to get notified each time an episode is released, make sure to follow us on social media. We are at MiniMapAU on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and minimap.com.au on Blue Sky. Minimap also wants to say a very big thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Kerry, you've been playing a couple of games over the past couple of weeks. One we've heard about in the past and one we haven't from you. Which one do you want to start with?
So I'll just briefly touch on Metroid Prime 4, because I spoke about that in our last episode we did, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I just started playing it then. Last night on stream, I finished it. And so I just sort of wanted to... I think I touched on how, it sort of wasn't giving me, like, the right Prime vibes as the trilogy had done in the start. I enjoyed the game more as I went on. Part of, as you get more abilities in Metroid, then you sort of have more things in your toolkit to solve puzzles with. So things got a bit more complex as the game went on, which was good. But ultimately, it's a very linear game. each zone off each sort of spoke off of the central desert area is quite linear in design and in nature, and that's fine, but it's not why I play a Prime game. So I've landed. The other thing is, when I finished the game yesterday, like, no spoilers for the ending of the game, but the way it ended, I found quite dissatisfying personally. Things were sort of left a bit up in question in some regards, like not entirely in question, but a number of things in question, and I'm just not a fan of that in general. Not that I think it's bad, but I know I don't like it. And so, because I'm just left sitting there like, but wait, what happened?
Yeah.
So the ending sort of brought that response out of me a little bit, which was that's just how I be. And
are you excited for Metroid Prime 5? Which is
Metroid Prime 5, exactly.
Like that.
I mean,
that
a
is
little bit.
That is a noun, like as a proper noun. It sounds wrong in my it sounds wrong to say Metroid Prime 5. It's like saying Red Dead Redemption 3. Like it doesn't exist as a thing physically, and like hearing Metroid Prime 5 sounds fake.
Yeah, it's like if someone said Half-Life 4.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been saying Half-Life 3 for so long. We've been saying Metroid Prime 4 for so long.
Like when they announced Kingdom Hearts 4, I was like, you can't do that. Like
you can't do that. Yeah. So like I think for me, just the way it was designed, it does feel a little compromised in the end in terms of its Prime heritage. It feels like it's missing a number of key elements that make it sort of what the previous games were. And I miss those elements in this game. It's a fine game. I think it's a decent adventure. It's, if you treat it more as like a Zelda dungeon experience, like you go around and you do like 5 dungeons and then you beat the game, like it's just a first person shooter, then I think you'll be perfectly satisfied. But if you're coming to it from Prime 1 and Prime 2 and Prime 3 and you've loved those, this game is like it's only half a Prime game, really. So yeah, and because I was left a little cold on the ending, that's sort of I'm left feeling a bit cold on the game overall. I did enjoy my moments with it more and more. Like the second half of the game, I really liked, and I actually got quite invested in the characters. So yeah, it's a worthwhile experience, but unfortunately for me, it did land in more of that like sort of 7 out of 10 range. Like I'm not putting a hard score on it at this second, just because, but just in terms of like a zone of like how I'm feeling on it, is just to be like, could have been a lot better. Felt compromised in a lot of ways.
Is it above 3 in your ranking?
No.
Right.
Prime 3, while my least favorite of the original trilogy, still sits firmly within the quality and the hallmark standings of the other games. While it is different in many ways to 1 and 2 and has a number of things that people didn't like as much, it still feels like Prime. It still plays like Prime. You still have to solve puzzles in a way like you would in Prime 1 and 2, and that keeps it in a sort of a separate echelon to where Prime 4 sits for me.
It sort of reminds me of, and I don't think this is, you're gonna not actually just have anything to say about this, but it reminds me of the first 3 Indiana Jones films, and then when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, and it's like, and like, granted, like I think it's not quite the same thing, because Indy 3 is like beyond like one of the best indie films in the series. It's also like one of the best action films ever, like in the same way that the first one is as well, Raiders. But like when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, like it was pretty panned, like when it came out. Like I was a kid, and so I didn't really care. It was just fun as a kid.
Yes.
But like going back, I'm like, oh, this movie is kind of like, it's got some things that's okay and some things that are really bad. And like, I like some of the characters and I don't like some of the changes they made. And I needed to do more things that the original movies did. But I'm curious if when a Metroid Prime 5 does come out, I wonder if you'll have the same thing that I did, which is when Indy 5 came out, where I looked at Indy 4 being like, perhaps I was too harsh on you. Like I didn't know they could make him quite as bad as this. And so maybe Indy 4, like Indy 4, maybe things were, we had something here actually, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you sort of get that effect with like Halo 4, where it's like, and then you play Halo 5 and you're like, oh, it could have been worse.
Yeah. Oh, Halo 4, you had some interesting things going. Like, you're not Halo 5, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it gets better. Like, Prime 4 has a storied history of being in development for too long and being worked on by many developers and multiple studios. And also there's something of the way it works when you're a studio like Retro and you're making a game for Nintendo is they make a lot of the core design decisions and you have to work to them. And some of those were consistent across the two development cycles with stuff like the psychic abilities and the open area and how it was made, like the structure of the game. And I think that commitment sort of born out of the early Switch 1 days where they looked at the success of Breath of the Wild and they tried to apply that to all of their franchises in different ways.
Yeah, like this is it. We've got the formula for video games now. Let's
Yeah, and then you fast forward 8, nearly 9 years, and it is it feels a bit toothless. It feels weird. It feels wrong in a way. Like it's just a different type of game, and it's not a Prime game, and that's fine. But why didn't you make a Prime game?
It's wild how Mario has managed to be the one to avoid that formula change.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, Odyssey had it in different ways, like because they give you the sort of the Galaxy Sunshine 64 worlds, but then you have all of these very small individual bite-sized moons to collect rather than larger, longer levels with stars to collect like you'd find in Galaxy or 64. They made that structure of the game much more bite-sized in that way. Rather than making it open world like Arceus, I suppose, it was still made in a way with the Switch 1 in mind.
Oh yeah, but I mean, as in like that, like just the nature of we haven't had a game come out from the people that make Mario since Zelda coming out.
Bowser's Fury?
Yeah, but Bowser's Fury was like, it was going to be a DLC for
I know
Odyssey.
it's a little weird little thing, but it's like 6 hours of Mario, 3D Mario made by the Mario team. And it's in a big, open, contiguous world.
No, like you're right, but it's not like it's not like Bowser's Fury feels like a really big level. Like it doesn't feel like a whole game.
No, it's definitely a smaller thing.
Yeah. And like I think if they had made that into a full thing, like we probably would have seen that. But like they then went on to, I mean, I guess like
right?
Yeah, like Donkey Kong being the project we assume that's the same team. I still have no idea if we ever got confirmation on that. Actually,
we did.
That'd be an interesting thing to talk about at some point. It's just like the different Nintendo teams. But like that world being too big for Odyssey to be a DLC, but not too big to be its own thing. Like it's not like Lost Odyssey, the Uncharted game, for example, like where that turned into a full thing. I thought about that game for the first time in a while the other day. Fuck, that game's
Lost
good.
Odyssey.
Yeah, what a cool game.
I don't think I played it.
Yeah.
What?
No, the Uncharted, the Lost.
Lost Odyssey. Sorry,
we have a.
I'm getting confused with what's the BioWare game they made before Knights of the Old Republic? Jade Empire.
Yes, Jade Empire.
I think that's what I was thinking.
Right. Yeah. No. Uncharted Lost Odyssey. The thing that I have hours of proof of you having played.
I love Lost Odyssey. Yes. So Bonanza was made by Nintendo EPD, Entertainment Planning and Development. Let me see. Yeah. So that's them. They worked on, gosh, a lot of things. Co-developed with 1UP Studio for Super Mario Odyssey. And then it looks like they were the main developers for Donkey Kong Bonanza. and Mario Kart World. That doesn't make sense. Okay, they must have internal teams inside EPD because that's too broad.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's Metroid Prime 4. But I've also played and finished Resident Evil Requiem, which I was not expecting to play this year, but I have, and I did. It's very funny playing that, having a small amount of history with Resident Evil. Like, I've had like just the smallest amount you could possibly have to basically have my bases covered before starting this game, where I've played Resident Evil Village, I've played Resident Evil 4 Remake, and that's it. And this game it's like half Village and half RE4. Whereas Village was trying to be the RE4 of the first person games. This is like, no, we've sort of gone back to make the first person sections a bit more neutral, by comparison, a bit more like what Resident Evil 7 was known for and applauded for, while also having discrete segments where you play as Leon and you get to roundhouse kick zombies in the head and hit them with a hatchet so hard that their head explodes, and yeah, it's very interesting that way. It's a very interesting game. Overall, I think it's quite good. I think it's excellent. I enjoyed it more than Village. It does sit in a weird spot because they've jammed 2 games in one, and so part of me wonders whether so you play as Grace for the first person sections, who's this young FBI agent who is in way over her head and is being targeted by this sect of umbrella researchers in this they call it the care center, but it's like a long-term hospital treatment place / experimentation hub. And so the way she walks around, like, she's quite scared, and the way, I think they did this in 8 as well, where you can like hear Ethan breathing when he's walking around and stuff like that. But it works really effectively with Grace, where she's like clearly so scared all the time, trying to hold her breath when people go past and stuff like that. Like, it's all just audio that's passively happening, but it's a nice touch.
Yeah, like Ethan's scared, but he's kind of just like and like, I'm right there with you, buddy, but he just truly can't believe this is happening all over again.
yeah, exactly. And I had no sense of eye rolling the same way I had when I was playing as Ethan Winters, when playing as Grace. The only thing that got me with Grace is, it's like, if you're like an FBI analyst and you're walking into an area with like, you've got like a firearms license and everything, I think you should be a little more hardened than this. Like, she is so scared all the time until you get more towards the end of the game, and she's like, you wouldn't believe the shit I've seen in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, but like it makes sense for Ethan because he's just some fucking guy. Like,
he's just a guy.
Yeah.
So once I got over that, I was like, okay, she just is scared. That's fine. We'll just roll with it. But
it is scary.
It's
truly horrific.
Yeah, but the amount that she's scared before things get scary even is like, it didn't make sense. Anyway, I think the first person sections of the game, they've taken the best parts of Resident Evil Village and made them the focus. So they've taken like the scares and the claustrophobic stalker moments and puzzle solving of the dollhouse, and I feel like that's informed the vast majority of the level design of the first person sections with Grace, which I think is a huge plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's also it's like if you take the dollhouse scares and the stalkers in that area, plus the Lady Dimitrescu setting of like a grand sort of old building with wings and keys and doors and stuff like that, and mash them together, I think it makes for the vast majority of that play space when playing as Grace, and it works really, really well. It's also great because Leon and Grace end up in the same location, and then so you'll play a lot as Grace and then play a lot as Leon in the same area, and then you could deal with some of the much harder stuff that Grace has to deal with, that is just things that you might just flat out avoid as Grace, and then you play as Leon, and you can then deal with those literal same enemies but you've got a shotgun and you've got grenades and you've got all this extra kit and more health and you're just more robust and you can deal with it. And so that's a fun way to recontextualize a space that you get to know quite well, and recontextualize enemies you get to know quite well. Leon plays very, very, very much like RE4 and remake, and I think that's a good thing. I think that game's great.
Yeah, like he feels good to play. Like you feel in control and comfortable. Like
Yes.
not comfortable in the sense that like it's not intense, because it still gets intense, but like you know what you're doing, and like you know, when people play the original Resident Evils for the first time, there is a level of like originally, like at the very beginning of everybody playing those games for the first time, you have to work the controls, and then once you get into that mode, you're fine, but you kind of grate against it a little bit just because it's got older game design elements, which is not inherently good or bad, but it's just old. Whereas now it's just you pick it up pretty quick.
Totally, yeah. So he fits in that really comfortably. I think one of my complaints is there's a lot of callbacks to Resident Evil 2 things, because part of the game is set in Raccoon City. When I think about the overarching story and where it goes and where it starts and all of that stuff, I find, and this is speaking as someone who hasn't played RE2, so maybe it would have hit harder if I had. It probably would have. But I found that basically a lot of those more direct callbacks had very little bearing on the overarching story. So it felt more like this detour. It felt like a fan service detour, and then we went back to the main story kind of a way. Like it had very little bearing on what was happening. It just sort of was happening, and then it was over and we moved on. And like that's not a problem necessarily, but for how front and center that inclusion is marketed for the game. Like the cover art of the game is Raccoon City Police Department as you find it in Requiem. Like it's a huge part of the game. And when I was reflecting on it at the end, it was like, you probably could have just like taken it out, or this could have been set in any other city and you could have had original things happening or been set in an original environment instead. And it would have been quite similar. It just would have been a bit less like, I recognize that statue when I solved that puzzle in RE2 remake and like all that kind of stuff. So it's not to say it's bad, but I do wish it was just a little more like anything. You know, I wish it was a bit more properly integrated, because the original parts of the game are so strong, and this feels, it feels almost out of place. Almost. Yeah. I don't know.
I wonder if you would feel, I'd muted myself and I forgot to unmute. I'd wonder if you would feel similarly if you have played 2.
I think it would help a little bit, because I'd be like, oh, this thing's happening. I'm trying to be very vague. I think it would help a little, but ultimately I still feel like it doesn't change much in the game. And I would just appreciate if it was a bit more interwoven, a bit more integrated.
Did they do stuff with the T-virus in this?
Yes.
Right. Does it feel like they're setting more up? Like, does it feel like they're setting up a 10? Like how, I don't know how much you know about the 7.
Post-credits scene that does, but the events of Requiem are pretty open and closed. Like it kind of starts and finishes, and that's it.
Because like 8 has always, 7 and 8 have been funny because they don't feel like they've been pushing a Resident Evil narrative forward much. Like 7 and 8 feel fair. Like quite, I mean, like, you know, like yes and no.
Siloed.
Well, kind of, because like 7 has Chris Redfield show up at the end, which was before we knew that he was one of the main characters in 8. But his involvement in Resident Evil 8 is not like related to Umbrella as a big corporation. It's not Umbrella. It's not related to the T-virus as a thing. It's
it's like there is some of it, but it's like a couple of side notes at the end of like, oh, this is how this relates. It's like Miranda met Spencer, like and it's stuff around, you know, like the T-virus. Sorry, stuff like
Umbrella is actually a much older corporation than one realizes, and has got roots in cults and the occult, but they don't push like modern Umbrella being a corporate conglomerate, faceless evil entity that unleashed a T-virus onto Raccoon City in Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Like they don't push that forward really. And
I think part of the reason why that is because 7 was after 6 and 8 was also after 6. And to push the modern day forward, you have to recognize 6. And in some way, they kind of have to do that here with 9. Like 6 is canon still. They I think they tried to forget about it, but they're just like, it's been long enough. We're just going to say that's what's happened. And so some of the like shadow organizations that are established in 6 that I'm not very familiar with, but in terms of like what modern Umbrella problems are, because, ostensibly they were dissolved in like around the time of RE4. And so like, but in 6, it's like the legacy of Umbrella, and then this other faceless corporation sort of steps forward, and so 9 starts having to deal with that. It's in a very interesting way, but it's not hammy. Like it's good. Well, no, it is hammy in so far as Resident Evil always is.
Yeah,
but
in a good way.
It's not bad.
There's one throwaway line in 8 where like Chris is arguing with Heisenberg, the like big vampire man, and they're arguing during their fight, and the Heisenberg refers to Chris as like boulder puncher as like a mean thing to say, like get out of here, you effing boulder puncher or whatever, which is a reference.
I think that's the ending of 5, isn't it?
Yeah, it's when he literally is punching boulders to get out because he's like a superhero in that stupid game. Which is so funny. Like it's such a throwaway deep cut, but fuck, it's funny.
Did you know Heisenberg is voiced by Neil Newbon?
Who's that?
The voice of Astarion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's with an American accent.
Yeah, cool.
I think it's part of why his accent's a bit weird, because he's a British man doing it.
He's got a great voice in that game.
Yeah, he does. It's very unique. So yeah, I think the survival horror aspects are really strong in this game. I think the storytelling's really good. I really grew to like Grace as a character. I really grew to enjoy Grace and Leon's sort of camaraderie. Like they don't get to work together much, but they do a bit, and that's strong. And I think it's just so enjoyable to play as Leon when you've been scared in the dark, stuck in the corner of a room with only a lighter to see anything with, and then you get to play as Leon, and he's got this revolver that's as big as his forearm, and like he gets to pick up a chainsaw and or he can deflect chainsaw with his hatchet, and he's got so many one-liners in this game. He almost exclusively talks in one-liners.
Excellent.
And they're not it doesn't get over much. It's just that's how it is. That's the foundation of this game, and that's how it is, and it's funny and it's enjoyable the whole time. Like
that's how
it was
Leon.
hard not to smile when playing as Leon.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad they didn't like make him too serious.
Yeah, totally.
Because like they could have made him like they could have made him like not relatable, because I don't think you can make him relatable, but like they could have made him like mournful.
Sure.
And I don't want that from him.
Yeah. But they do a really good job of like, because he's a bit older, like he's got this stubble on his face and he's so much further removed from RE2 and RE4.
Yeah.
So he is just that much older. I mean, RE6, because he's in that too. And that's canon. But they do a good job of sort of showing his age, but it doesn't come through in the gameplay at all, except for there's a number of times where you sort of drop down ledges and the thuds you get in the controller and the screen shake. He drops off a ledge like a fucking ton of bricks. Like he is this heavy guy just because he's an older guy who is very muscly and very strong. But now it's like those falls, he can't just like shake them off, and he's carrying so much weight with him. He's just like, oh, it's like huge every time you do just a human height drop. is just it's a massive impact in the game, and it's so funny how that translates to me as it feeling more weighty means he's older. Like it's a funny, it's not just that, it's his skin and it's his stubble and his voice is a bit deeper and a bit more gruff and all of that, but it all plays into this sense of how much like more grizzled he is.
He's experienced twunk death.
Yeah.
Like not twink death, because
moving into
he got that in
he's
RE4.
moving into himbo territory.
Yeah. Well, he's always been himbo, but he's now no longer like a twink or a twunk because he's getting too old, and so he's aging out of that and just turning into just like
he's just actually kind of more of a hunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I recommend the game. And if you don't get it at launch and you think it's too expensive or whatever because it's new games, Capcom, everyone remember, Capcom has a well documented history of steeply discounting their games quickly. In the next 6 to 12 months, that game will be 25% off, 33% off, and then if you wait longer, it won't be long before it's 50% off. And yeah, look, the game's great. So if you like Resident Evil, you like some horror, but you don't want it to be too scary, but you want it a bit scary, it's a good one.
And the moment that happens, it means RE4 will be even cheaper.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is definitely worth
you could buy the remake trilogy, and then you could buy the other first person games with all of the DLC. Yeah.
So is now the time you're gonna play RE2?
I am the closest I've ever been to playing RE2 and Alan Wake 2, funnily enough, because I finished that game and I was in more of the mood for some survival horror kind of stuff. So yes, I am
jump back in that game and just like throw it on easy and get through it, because the survival stuff is still, you still engage with it when you're on easy mode, because it's just about like
and that game I felt was like too hard. Like it took too many headshots and they got too close and the ammo was too scarce. I will say with RE9 that I did find it was too easy. There's 3 modes you can start the game with when you start for the first time, which is, I think it's called easy or casual. And then it's standard parentheses modern and standard parentheses classic.
Oh my God.
And classic is like, I think it's a little more resource scarce, but you also have limited typewriter uses. You have to use like the typewriter ribbons as a resource. Whereas in modern, it's just when you can save whenever you get to a typewriter. And I will on standard modern, which is what I played, I did feel after 2 or 3 hours, I had a grip on how the game worked, and I didn't really feel threatened in nearly any encounter, even as Grace. Like I got a grip of like how the game worked, and then I just had like too many bullets for like the rest of the game. So play on a harder difficulty if you're familiar with the franchise.
Normal, casual, standard, modern, standard, classic.
Mm-hmm. And then insanity, you unlock at the end.
Oh, of course, not hard mode. Insanity. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this how boomers feel about pronouns? They're like, what does any of this mean? None of this make just like, is this what, because I'm just like, just give me easy, medium, hard.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Treat me like a baby, or
hurt me plenty
around a bit,
or heroic, legendary, just
parentheses modern,
standard, modern, standard, classic.
Classic, yeah.
We have strayed so far from God's light. Oh.
So Jeremy,
Kerry,
you've also been playing games. You and I both played the Marathon Service Slam a little bit, which was 2 weekends ago now.
Yes.
And this past weekend, we're recording this on Monday, you've been playing Marathon, the full release, quite a bit. I saw on Steam today that you've got like 15 hours in or something.
Yeah,
12 hours.
Yeah, probably closer to 10. Like there was a couple times I got up and I left the game running, but like
idle time.
Still like,
but still
10 hours.
Across a weekend, that's some serious time. I've been dying to hear what you think about this game and dying to ask you some questions about it. So please.
So it's a funny one. Marathon, like when we were playing the Service Slam, I remember like I've been quite tepid on Marathon as a product for basically since we saw it. Like I think that myself and everybody was always into the style, the vibe, the aesthetic. That has been like it's really cool. There was
I don't really know anyone who doesn't like it.
No, well, like there are I think issues with it that I think are kind of fundamental to it, which I'll get to in a minute. But like I think by and large, it's a really cool looking game. It's got a really like interesting vibe to it. It's got an extremely unfriendly facade on it. Like I think that it is this cool, like cyber corpo, like it's got a funny mix of science fiction. It's got a funny mix of both science fiction, fashion / sports, and like counterculture. Because everything is very much almost utilitarian in a lot of its designs. Like it is sharp colors, it is digital fonts and glitch effects, but not in the way that Cyberpunk 2077 does it, which is like the glitch effects in Cyberpunk are kind of a little bit wrapped up in an aesthetic anyway. Like a lot of the effects in this feel like they harken back almost to like hacking culture and the stark colors that old screens would project, where there wasn't a whole lot of like gradients or there wasn't soft tones to blend to different colors. It would sort of be like really hard, sharp lines.
It's analog in a way.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, it is. But like it also leans into, I think, something that is kind of interesting, which is that the game's aesthetic is so focused around these like factions, these corporations, and their particular aesthetics. It actually reminds me a lot of early Destiny 1 and 2 when you had like the Future War Cult and the other two, which I forget.
Dead Orbit and something else.
Something with an M, Mercurial or something. It was like those factions at the very beginning of Destiny and Destiny 2, they were there for a reason, and then like they sort of lost their reason quite quickly, which is why their purpose sort of got like patched out eventually. But they were there to sort of allow you to pick a corporate team, and you would be able to roll weapons with those corporations that would give you, by and large, weapons you could get elsewhere, but they had a different color scheme on them because back then the aesthetics of the weapon were intrinsic to the weapon, and you couldn't change it nearly as easily. But the point of like what I'm making is that like they have sort of harkened back to this like. Like when you think about sports, especially like with the F1 going on at the moment, so much of what like F1 is all about is these brands, like it is Ferrari versus, Lamborghini, like not specifically F1, but like I don't really know the teams in F1. But like it is car companies and it is energy drink companies and stuff, but teams are like the car manufacturers. And so the brand is the team. It's not like in soccer, which is like the team is the location, like I go for Melbourne Victory. I don't barrack for Perth Glory. I don't live in Perth. I live in Melbourne. Therefore that happens. But in like F1, it's not quite that. And in this, it's kind of the same, except they're not sports teams. They're corporations all trying to get some different one up on each other when doing the marathon game, which is to go into the world and get scrap and get materials and complete missions and then jump back out of it. So I think them leaning back into something that they have tried with Destiny, I think is really fascinating for a company like Bungie. And then also them going back to Marathon, which is a thing that they made 25 years ago. More
pre-Halo.
Yeah, pre-Halo. And then revisiting that and seeing what that means, and like I've been learning a little bit about the Marathon story, like the original Marathon story, and it seems also very proto Halo in a lot of ways. There's like it's one thing Bungie loves, it's big shapes in space, but also the idea of gods and people like reaching and ascending to godhood. Every fucking story they've made in ever has got something to do with that, and I want them to keep doing it because I really enjoy it when they do it.
Yeah.
But it is funny to think about all these things and go like, this is really interesting how they've, presented all these different aesthetics and these different characters that are asking you to do different missions for them. but then you're doing the same game mode over and over again, which is to do a run, which is the extraction shooter part of it. It is an interesting way to engage in a story. I agree with a lot of other people that I really wish there was a main campaign as well, like a single player element. But I am enjoying playing the game, which is a multiplayer game, purely single player. I've never joined any match with Phil turned on. I have been like Phil as in like make a team based
Phil
on
teammates.
yeah, not as in retired Spencer. And so like when I've been playing this game on my own, I feel like I'm kind of actually playing it like a single player game, but there's just enemy combatants that are in my way of me doing my story missions, which is an interesting way to play it. I'm not a huge extraction shooter person. Like I think the game mode is interesting and fine. I've always been curious about Tarkov, but the price has always been just too high enough for me to just jump in and play it. The only reason I picked up Marathon, honestly, is because there was the Service Land, which was free. And so I got to actually have a taste in it and get into a little bit more before I could decide if I wanted to spend the $60 Australian on the full release or not. I did get into it enough that I did do that, and I've been enjoying it so far, but I don't know if this game really does need a free mode. Like, they should make Service Slam a thing that people can try, and like...
It's like the first 2 hours kind of a thing, or...?
No, like, I think that they should be allowed to play pretty consistently, but maybe just gate most of the progression behind buying the full release of the game, because I really think that it's a really tall order to ask people to pay $60 for what is a game mode that is really, really not only quite aggressive and punishing, but hard to explain unless you're in it. The first couple of rounds of Marathon that I played, I still didn't really get it and get how I'm meant to play this game. But I've been really enjoying going in and like either with one of the there's like two different types of contracts. There's ones that are like infinite and you just keep rolling them and they will give you experience as well as like sort of faction experience. And then there's they've got a name. I forget the name of the contract, but it's like a specific story contract, which will then unlock more things for you and like introduce you to other factions and stuff. And those contracts are a little bit more hands-on. They're by and large the same type of things, but it's there might be some more interactivity that you're doing in it. So you'll go into this area and you'll actually bring a ship down and you have to jump onto the top of the roof of the ship and hack it while other enemies are shooting at you, and everybody who's in the world can see this ship coming down. It's not like an event that has then siloed you off into a different instance. It's in the real world. And so I've never seen anyone else summon that ship in that location that I summoned it for that story mission, just because I've never been on that map at that time while someone's doing that story mission and then got up to it. And so when someone was shooting at me who was a real person on the roof of this ship, they either would have been, oh, Jeremy's doing that story mission, or why the fuck is there a ship there when there never is there normally? Which I think is quite interesting. But I think that like the game, I'm really enjoying the part of the game which is the adrenaline. Like, I've got some stuff on me. I need to either get out or I need to win this next fight. I'm really enjoying making those calls really, really often. But I'm also really enjoying not actually being super attached to my gear, not because I don't like some weapons more than others, because I love some weapons more than others, or especially when I've got a really good scope.
Sometimes you're going to lose it.
Like, I know sometimes I'm going to lose it, but it also feels quite transactionary a lot of the time, where like if I've got some really crap weapons and I am up against someone that's got like a weapon that's really melting me, not only do I want to, like, I don't feel like, oh, whatever, like I'll just die and re-roll. I feel a desire to then go and defeat them, so then I can get that weapon and feel like I've got that thing, and I'll just trade the crap weapon I've got for another one. Or those moments where I'm in the middle of sort of like an area that's kind of like occupied with maybe one or two other people, but no one's actually fighting each other, but I can hear footsteps that are not the NPCs. And I find a weapon that's really good, but I really like the ones I've got. And so now I need to look at my inventory and go, fuck, all right, do I dump a bunch of stuff that is really useful for me and maybe even help me complete a mission? because I can then get rid of a bunch of stuff in my inventory to then have a third weapon unequipped in my backpack and then try and escape. And is that going to fuck me because I'm going to lose some of my health items to get this weapon, and then I'll like get eventually just like ganked and then like, and I'll lose. A lot of those decisions I think are really fun, and it like there's a lot of sacrificing that you have to do for gear and for story progression potentially if you've given up on a story mission because you want to do something else in that one moment that presents itself to you. As well as those times where I'm like, oh, like, all right, cool. Like I've got this mission. I've got this contract from one of the story characters, which is telling me that the next thing they want me to do is just kill 10 human players and use a finisher on them. Which is not particularly difficult. Like you do that, but like your progress to that only goes when that's explicitly active. You can't passively do all of the quests at the same time. You have to choose which one you're selecting and building towards. And so I'm like, oh, well, like I've got some good weapons. I'll equip that and I'll go in and I'll just, take it pretty slow. Whenever I see someone, I'll I'll try and take him out, and I won't be doing any of the other stuff that usually distracts me. I'll just be gathering resources and trying to take down enemies. And so I put all my good weapons on. I see someone in 20 seconds. They annihilate me. I'm like, well, there goes my good weapons.
Yeah, totally.
Then it's just, oh, well, like reroll. What have I got? What can I do now? Do I try that mission again with weapons that I don't care about? Yeah. Is it easier if I have that equipped and I find some really good weapons from someone? Yes. Do I feel like doing that right now? Maybe not. Maybe I just want to do more like salvaging stuff. It's interesting. Like I'm enjoying that side of it a lot, and I'm enjoying the world presenting itself to you more and more as you go. You don't really realize just how much of of that world there is to explore until you've gotten, like I have like 10 hours deep and I'm in, the second zone, which is like a zone you get really early in the game. Because there's only 3 zones from what I can tell. You get the first 2 like pretty soon. And I'm like in this tunnel area and I'm like, where the fuck am I? Like I've been in here for so long and there's this tunnel area under this compound I've been to maybe a dozen times now that I didn't even know this is here. Where does all this lead? And you realize that there's 2 grates that'll lead you somewhere else. There's a tunnel and there's a ladder. And I'm like, oh, this connects this area way more. And you're slowly building up this map. I remember thinking 3 zones for the whole game. That's kind of not a lot. The zones are so deep and so detailed and so interconnected. But it doesn't feel like that I'm going to get snaked every time. Like it is really interesting and intelligently designed that like, it's not only am I being, funneled certain ways and there's points of interest around here and around there, but like there are so many different ways to approach a scenario that it's not about snaking someone or being snaked. It's just about like being perceptive to what's around you, because you can always tell when there are people around you. And so you just got to be sort of mindful of what is going on. I do love those moments though, when you're sort of like hiding next to this vehicle or in like shrubs and you can tell someone's nearby, but you know that they haven't found you yet. And they go kind of right by you and you're like dead still because you're really not up for a fight with
Rats.
them. Yeah. And you go rats and and then they leave because they're doing something and they go somewhere else. And you're like, fuck, how many times has that happened to me today? How many times have I ran by someone without even knowing?
And also like, am I going to fight or do I need to go?
Yeah. The downside is that I think that playing it as a solo, you really don't get a tremendous insight into the social aspect of it. Like very rarely does anyone have a mic. Very rarely is anyone teaming up with anybody. Everybody's shooting everybody. I've had one person, I think ever, 1 or 2 people that have not immediately got into a firefight with me.
Who you betrayed.
Yeah, but that's the game. But even then, it doesn't
have to be. You're choosing for it to be the game. It doesn't have to be the game.
Yeah, well, he made the mistake of picking up some things that I wanted, that I didn't tell him about. And so like, But even then, like, I'm not against not betraying, and I'm not against doing, you know,
No.
like a thing, but like it just
No, that's your choice, and that's what this genre allows for.
except like in single player, it basically doesn't, because everybody is in single player who is not in a group is mostly teamed up. Sorry, is mostly also not filled with people, and so you're not going against teams. It makes sense to an extent because like if there's a team versus a solo, you'll get like pretty rinsed.
Yeah.
And there is like a specific character you can choose who then puts you in the game in the last 10 minutes in a team match, and your job is to go in there and just kind of disrupt things. It's fine, but like I'm not really there for that specific thing. Like I want to be able to play the game with it, like against teams deliberately. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I really don't know if it's got the legs, because it's going to be really off-putting to a lot of people. It's a very cool product, and I think that genre is not tapped, but the genre is not immediately accessible to a lot of people. The game would really benefit at least from like a trial on PlayStation Plus or something. Like it needs more people to get into it, and they need to allow people to find themselves going into it and going, I could really kind of use more of this. Like this could be a thing I get into. They need a version of that is accessible to people, that doesn't require them to pay 3/4 of a full priced game, which I don't know if they're prepared to do yet. And
I mean, for how Bungie's been going the last few years, I don't know if they can afford to not charge for it.
But they need at least the first map, right? Like even have a separate game mode that is like
free to play map.
Yeah, like free to play map, and you not match with people that are doing the missions. Like you not match with the full price people. You're only fucking around with the people, and so you're learning with the same people that are just playing the free mode. You're not there playing against the seasoned people. Like when you play the game, you actually get a specific instance of that first map called like that map in brackets beginner. And that sort of just teaches you the mechanics. Make that mode free is what I really think they should do. But what I really want to talk about, like just as the final thing, is I got the third map earlier today, which is a map called Outpost, where you have to be level 12 to get access to it. And I reached level 12 earlier today. That map is really cool. Like I was concerned that there wasn't a tremendous amount of like dynamicism throughout the game. The first map, you know, it's got weather effects and it's got, you know, a couple of different things happening. Second map has got a little bit more. It's got weather, but it's got like an area which will get locked down each time, and it's got different areas that have got some other, like not quite random, but like rolled things that can happen. Like a bunch of enemies will show up, and if you defeat those enemies, that area just gradually increases in its NPC level. So all the robots there get stronger and stronger. That makes it really hard to show up.
Like a heat level almost.
Kind of, yeah. But that third map has got a lot more. Like it's got like it's got rotating weather effects that are very, very dangerous, and it's got just a massive amount of height all throughout the map. Like there's so much different layers, and I'm like shooting enemies that are like, I don't even know how they got up there. I didn't know that wasn't just part of the scenery. You can actually head up there. It's a much more chaotic, like a lot more overwhelming, that map, but it is very cool. And so I'm glad the third map is not just another outdoor area. It's a lot more constructed, a lot more artificial. I hope that those three maps are enough. You know, like it's never stopped battle royales before, and I think that this game is not in that vein. But for a game that has story and stuff, and you know, you're progressing story, characters and factions, and learning more about these factions and what each of their goals are, I hope it's enough, but I do wonder if it needs maybe one more, or maybe a smaller one, or maybe more of a final one. The only reason I think that there's only 3 as well, like I've not actually looked it up, is because there's 3 on the map. There's 3 on the level select. And the third one has been locked to me until now, and there isn't like a fourth one which sits below it that I can.
Everything I've heard has said 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I also don't know what
yeah,
end
I
game
think
is.
this next one's meant to be a lot more complex, right? Like it's meant to have like potential like raid mechanics, like raid-like mechanics of like puzzles you could solve in the area and stuff like that.
I was getting that vibe even just from like some of the world mechanic stuff that I was unlocking in the first map, even, which was stuff that I didn't see until sort of 10 hours in. I think not because I didn't notice, but because it wasn't actually open for me to engage with. Was like there was some like, you know, like, oh, like here's a code to go to this location and you find a cache. One of them was like, oh, like here's 3 numbers that are written on the wall on a screen. Go over and hit a button, and it gives you 4 different like markers, and you go to one of them, and it doesn't tell you anything, but I learned this very quickly, that there are screens next to all these other buttons as well, which have different numbers on them. And I hit one which was a different.
One of the matches.
Yeah, and so I immediately went to the closest one. They didn't match, but I was like, this was a learning moment. I knew this was a learning moment when I hit the button, but the button was then like, like wrong, idiot, fuck you, and then like call everybody in, and a whole bunch of robots showed up, and I'm like, I knew this, I knew that. I'm not an idiot. I've done this before. I played games, but I still did it.
Yeah. But I wanted to know.
But also they put that one so close to you that I'm like, oh, this is a tutorial. Like, and so I was learning and I was making sure. And then I went over to the one that had the thing and I'm like, okay, cool. And that was 10 hours in that they started to either roll those out to me. I don't think it was in the game before this moment for me. So I think they might continue to roll these out to you as you get a higher level and they recognize that you've got more of a skill in the game at this point. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I think it's unique. I hope it's enough.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we all want to see Bungie survive and like it's such a storied developer. They've made so many important games in the space, and despite a number of own goals over the recent years, like we want to see what they can do when they're able to flex their muscles and when they're not sort of stuck with bad management. I mean, this was made with bad management, but you know, I think it's fair to say we want them to succeed. It's
but
it
like,
was fascinating.
Even, really quick, even like outside of the conversation around like, you know, Bungie are in a funny spot, PlayStation are in an even funnier spot, and yet no one's laughing at any of it. Like they are like as a game itself, I hope it's got enough to exist as a thing that can exist on its own legs. Like outside of Bungie and Destiny as a conversation, I hope that Marathon is enough for it to be a thing that is worthwhile getting into.
Yeah,
it's been part of the conversation around, you know, like I know Arc Raiders has done like probably the best like commercially out of all of them, but Tarkov has always been going on in the backgrounds, and there've been other ones around the works as well, but none of them have had a like, this is a really complete experience that includes a story and a multiplayer element and a narrative and a meta game that isn't just like, it's just the game. And I don't know if Marathon is that yet, but I hope that it reaches that point. And I think it's probably got the best foundations for it to reach a point where it's got that additional narrative stuff that is fun and worthwhile engaging with, even if it is a little bit less traditionally told.
Yeah. So Tarkov is on Steam. I don't know if you can buy it on its own launcher. I think you can, because I think it wasn't on Steam for a while.
That's correct. It wasn't on Steam when I was looking at it. Yeah.
It's funny because their average player, their 24-hour peak is 18,000 on Steam, which isn't huge. So I think a lot of people must play on their own, because it's bigger than that. And I know it's bigger than that. So a lot of people must play on their own launcher. But looking at the graph, it gets to like 8 o'clock our time on Friday when I think Marathon launched, and there's a steep dip for like 4 hours, and then it goes back to normal. So it's like the Tarkov player base checked out Marathon for an evening and then went right back. And you can't even see a dip like that in the Arc Raiders charts. Like their numbers are so big, like it's like you can't even tell that Marathon launched in here somewhere. Like it's completely imperceptible.
But it's also like Marathon is also like on PlayStation and Xbox as well. Like I know so is
totally.
Arc Raiders.
Raiders.
Yeah, but it's like you're not going to see those one-to-one comparisons
Oh no,
as
I know.
much.
It's just funny when looking at Tarkov and you just see the whoop, like you just see the scoop out of the graph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is going to be really interesting. And I was really fascinated by how, because I've been not tepid on this game, but I've been not hesitant even, but I've been um what's the word? I mean, I've been
Cautious?
completely unconvinced. Yeah, cautious. Like I'm willing to give this game a go. I hope it's good, but like I have no idea whether it is going to be or not. And I would like it. I just need to like see it to understand it a bit more. And it's right now there's no way to know until playing the Server Slam. And I played a couple of hours late at night last weekend, and then I've been busy all week. And it got to Friday night, and it was like, fuck, I could really go for just a few runs of marathon right now. Like not super invested. And I found it really hard to justify as someone who's a bit time poor at the moment to say, like, I can't spend $60 on this game that has like seasonal resets where my progress will be wiped. Where right now it feels like all I can give to it is 1 hour a week. Like, like that, like I can't do that. Like these games thrive on your investment in them. It's not like, I mean, it's any game with the battle pass, but even people who play Fortnite casually, like you could jump in, play a couple of rounds, and jump out, regardless of whether you know what's going on in the season or not. And that's harder to do in Marathon when a large part of the progression is based on you accumulating gear that you then rely on for future runs as you go in, and that then changes the whole dynamic of the thing. And that all gets wiped when the season resets. So
Sure, but like I don't think that is as important as you might think. Like it is,
well,
but
no,
as
and to be fair, I'm coming to this as like hearing what extracted shooters are about. I haven't played Arc Raiders or Tarkov or like Hunt Showdown. Like it's not my scene. So this was sort of my first taste of that, and so it is me assuming that that's the going to be the long-term appeal.
Look, I think don't worry about that as much, because all the upgrades are either things like, oh, like, you know, your overheat, which is your stamina, like your overheat recharges a little bit faster when you upgrade through this guy, or like this person will sell you things like shields or sell you things like different weapons and stuff. Those are the things that are going to get wiped. Like your gear as well, but like, look, let's face it, we're not going to get to a point where we're getting the highest level of all time gear and filling a vault with it. And like I'm buying and losing weapons pretty regularly, or like I'm accumulating and losing weapons pretty regularly. Like I'm not forming really heavy attachments to any of that stuff. Plus also the season is like 3 months. And so like you've got a bit of time to get into it. That,
I mean, that sounds to me like that's 12 hours over 12 weeks. Like that's great.
yeah. And like, I'm not up to 12 hours of game time, and like I would be pretty bummed if I only got as far as I am now in the game. But also what I'm still up to is knowing how the game works. Like I doubt they'll wipe the story progress, because that doesn't seem like
the like challenges that you like tick off in the background. I think that hopefully that stays. That would be a massive like
it also wouldn't make any sense. Like thematically it would just it fundamentally wouldn't make sense. And also you've got, at that point, like I've now got access to the 3 different zones. And so there were some of the character missions which I have been prevented from able to do, because while I was level 4, I was provided the next story mission for this character, which was go to the outpost, which is the level 12 unlocked zone. And so I had to just wait on this character until now, which was, you know, maybe 8 hours of gameplay. So yeah, like I think don't stress about the seasonal stuff too much. Like, will it get wiped? Sure, but like it's fine. Like you're there to experience the game part of it more than you're there to be really good in the season. And so like you'll still get a lot out of it if you vibe with it.
It's interesting hearing you talk about playing it as a solo experience, because one of the questions, which I think you've answered through your breakdown here, is like I was so fascinated to see you jump in on this. I mean, I know you like Bungie games, but like, you know, this is so different to Destiny, to Halo. Like a bunch of our mates, like one of our good mates, Tom, is just like, I just don't understand why it's PvE only. Like I would love to get in on this, but it's so hard to. It's just not it's not the format I want. It's not why I enjoy Bungie games. And so it's interesting that you're making it work in that sort of way on its own anyway. And you know, to a degree, it will have been designed to accommodate that in some regard. Like that they've allowed, the option is there for you not to fill in. Like that is a possibility that they've accommodated for.
Yeah.
But it's not one that they've publicized really, and it's not
No.
one that is well known for in the extraction shooter space, so far as I'm aware of it, which is relatively surface level. So I'm fascinated that you've had the experience you've had with the game as a solo, that has been viable for you. I think what you mentioned as well with like it having maybe more free to play accessible content would help it a lot, or potentially more single player content that you could jump into and experience more bespoke moments or whatever.
Similar
Really
to Destiny, like there are those moments
Yeah.
where you've got those missions which are those solo missions and you can't go in with someone else, or those really bespoke weapon missions where you can go in with someone but they are like absent from the world.
Yeah, like that would be cool. And you know that Bungie's audience are hungry for that kind of thing from them. Like they would eat that up. It something that I watched Skill Up's Server Slam impressions video, which he made because partly because you know, he had impressions that he wanted to get out, but also because he's at GDC when the game releases, so he's not going to be able to get to the main game for a little bit. But he was saying that like while the game is a little bit more polished since the delay and the alpha test that everyone got to play like 6 months ago or 9 months ago, whenever that was, he still has a lot of problems with it. As someone who has enjoyed Arc Raiders, as someone who has enjoyed Hunt Showdown, where those games you can approach them, like there are so many objectives in Arc Raiders that you can approach as a solo player, and there are so many PvE things you can do as a solo. There are so many different objectives where it's by comparison, it seems that Marathon's sort of overarching goal is one of like it's like a team deathmatch of extraction shooters, and there aren't many other ways to play it otherwise. And he was also explaining how Hunt Showdown has a lot of PvE mechanics happening in a level where there are bosses in a space, and they're really hard to take down on your own or even as a group. So you kind of rely on other people chipping away at that damage too, and then it's about third parties, and then you've got this resource you get from killing the boss, and you have to extract with that, and it's obvious where you are. Like it's this whole extra layer of like what is happening in the world that makes that more approachable for people to join from a single player perspective, or from a perspective of a casual player, I guess, that they can enjoy, whether they're tryharding as a squad or just wanting to tick some boxes. And yeah, he found that by comparison to those, that Marathon is lacking.
Yes,
that sort of drive, that objective.
There is no, like, I don't feel like there are like cooperative things to do in the game as someone who's just bumping into other people. Like it doesn't exist. There's no reason to not just kill someone. There are moments where there's like, oh, like high priority targets shown up, and it's someone with like, you know, it's a bad guy with a bunch of health and really strong weapons and stuff. Okay. I'm either not engaging with them, or I'm waiting until someone involves themselves in that battle and then trying to take advantage of the ending of that. Like,
do you think that's a product of you being solo, so you can't afford to front up for that because you're likely to find teams of three, and the enemy is designed to withstand squads?
No, like, because I'm not likely to find a team of three. I'm likely to find other solo people that are just going to gank me, and so I'm not even I'm not even getting involved, because either someone's going to do what I want to do, which is take advantage of whoever is doing the battle and then dip, or
third and fourth or fifth party.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is a problem where like there really isn't a meaningful reason to partner up with somebody. Like I've seen a lot of those clips of people on Arc Raiders, and they're meeting people and they're like, oh, like let's buddy up and kill a bunch of, you know, things together and stuff. But like there's never a reason that the loot that they've got is going to be any way, shape or form better or worse than the ones that I've got. And I think part of the problem is that part of the problem is that like the time to kill is so short that it's going to be really easy for me to just do it. Like if I betray someone because we're buddies and they turn their back on me and I shoot them, they won't have enough time to turn around and realize what's going on before I've already killed them. I know the time to kill in Arc Raiders is a lot higher, and so you can take some hits, run, dip into cover, and, you know, either taunt each other or try and outplay each other. Outplaying someone, if like it is almost impossible to outplay someone if they've got the drop on you. It like the time to kill is just too short. Even with the shields. like it just doesn't exist like that. I think that like the game is not designed around solo play, but I have always really enjoyed playing battle royales, even solo, even jumping into games where there's squads of 3 or 4. Like I'm happy to play Fortnite, or I was happy to play PUBG, or happy to play Apex, as a solo person, not filling a team deliberately and jumping into a group match where there's only 3s and 4s around. Just because like I find that fun. Like I like the intensity of hiding from a big group. The overwhelming sense of achievement if you do manage to solo a group is incredible, but also kind of being a nuisance is kind of fun, but like taking what I can really quick and then like, getting the hell out of Dodge is really, really enjoyable as well. Like if I can find a group of 3, sort of they're engaged with another group, I can pick someone off, quickly kill them, steal their shit and dip. Not only is that really fun because I've then I've taken advantage of a situation. I know that they're going, what the fuck happened over there while they were in the middle of something. Like I think like I get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Okay, yeah.
So
do you see yourself squatting up with friends or
yeah, like I'm not against playing with friends at all. Like I'd have a lot of fun, but that would I think be much closer to me playing like a PUBG. And I think on top of that as well, like just as a final point, a lot of the missions, if you're on it, like some of these missions, and because you can only take one contract in at a time, you can't make progress on more than one contract.
You can't do like 5 at once.
They don't take half an hour. Like they take 10 minutes, 15 if it's like a really long one where you got to go from one end of the map to the other, and you'll get distracted along the way.
When you're starting, it can take a bit longer. Like when I was in the server slam, I was like, I actually don't know what you're asking of me. It's like loot 1 toolbox. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is in this world. Like
sure, but and
then eventually I found one, and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. So
yeah, like the server slam actually had a bunch of bugs where they weren't pinging you things as much as they should have been. Like I was noticing that as well, where like there were certain things where it's like, oh, take these items to a decon, and I'm like, what the fuck is a decon? And I'm like running around the map for like 20 minutes going like, I don't know what this is. And I Googled it on my phone and like, oh yeah, these buildings look like this. At the moment the server slam's bugged and they're not showing up on your map, but it even says in the map take it to a decon, like these have been like shown to you on the map, and I'm looking at the map and there's nothing there. Whereas when I did that mission again, when the game came out, it was immediately obvious where I needed to take this.
Okay. All right. Cool. So that was a beta problem.
Yeah. Yes. But like, yeah, the missions, they don't take super long. And so like, as long as you're not too heavily distracted or too overwhelmed by like some real people, you can sort of get to them in 15-ish minutes, 20 if you want to, do like some serious looting. And then you've got 10 minutes to figure out what you want to do. And so you can just leave. You can just take one of the exfils and dip. Or you can hang around and see if you can fuck someone else's day up. Or do some other just like generated things like, getting a loot cache and unlocking a door or whatever. But yeah, like if there was reason to buddy up with someone, then you might happy to have do a mission with someone that isn't for you, so that then they do their mission. So then they might do their mission, your mission with them.
Space and
doesn't exist at the moment though. There's no way to share that stuff. There's no way to take advantage of someone else doing a mission that isn't the one you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, fascinating. I'm very excited to follow it and see how it goes. It's being well reviewed on Steam, which is good. I mean, I know that only means so much, but like it's being well regarded. It's being well received despite some of its limitations. I hope it sustains. I hope it does well. I'm excited to give it a go and see how it feels, but
it's
question marks on.
It's an interesting one. I think it's got potential. I just don't know if it's got legs.
Yeah,
there's one thing you need when running a marathon, Kerry. It's legs.
I wonder if there are people, perhaps like amputees or people who are up for the challenge, who have done a marathon on their hands.
On their hands. I mean, you can not be an amputee and also do that on your hands as well.
That's why I said who might have done it for a challenge.
Right, right. I know. I mean, I know there's people who have got like prosthetic legs who do marathons, and it's like, god damn. While you look at that, I'm going to throw a still break, and we're going to come back and talk about Xbox.
Oh, this person finished the marathon on their hands as like a show off, but they'd run the whole way.
Jeez, and the game just came out too. Hello, welcome back. We're going to talk about Xbox. They've been in the news lately.
Talk about the unofficial record broken for world hand walking, if you want. But
which is
there has not. It was
your segment.
3.2 miles over 8 hours.
God damn!
But they didn't have footage the whole time, so they didn't officially break the record.
Right. Well, in that case, it's for nothing.
I know.
If you can't get the Guinness World Record, then like, what's the point?
Tell us about your plans for the Boston Marathon, says the DO to the person who broke the record. I have to be able to go from 24 to 36 hours. We're trying to build an Iron Man suit for me. It's something I'd love help with, actually. A friend designed gloves, but I'll need wrist braces, shoulder braces, and a back brace, which would all be incorporated into an exosuit.
I see.
Anyway, Xbox.
They're in the news, Kerry.
Oh, is really?
You know Phil.
Yeah, Phil Spencer.
P3.
Phil Real Gamer Spencer.
He's retired.
Really? How old is that man?
I have no idea.
I'll look that up.
I reckon he's probably 50.
I'm going to say 55.
Yeah. I don't think he's that old. I think he's 50.
58.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh damn! The corporate makeover is you just really can't beat it.
No, yeah.
That's what wearing a lifetime supply of video game T-shirts under blazers gets you is looking good
in
for
public.
58 in public. Yeah, on stage. Phil Spencer departed, or is departing.
I think he's departed, isn't he?
He's on as
he's supervising.
Yeah, he's on supervise. He's a supervisor for Xbox through the transition, and then has reportedly been will reportedly leave middle of this year. This happened 2 weeks ago, but there's a lot, I think, more to it than I think a lot of people are like maybe have realized. This is a sudden change, obviously.
It was so sudden.
Yes.
Like they announced it on a Friday, and it was,
which is funny,
going into immediate effect on the Monday. It was like, what?
Yeah.
And not only that he is retiring, but also that Sarah Bond is out as well.
Yes. We'll get into the details in a minute, but the funny thing about that is that, like, historically, when you want to deliver bad news, you do that on a Friday. If you want to bury something, you do that on a Friday. That's not because people don't see it. Oh, sorry, that is because people don't see it, and not because Friday is like bad news day. It's because that, like, usually a whole lot of stuff happens on a Friday, and people have already got a whole bunch of work they're already working on, and so journalists are less likely to be able to report on a Friday. Now, they knew this was going to be something that people were going to report on. Like, this is not something that they would not have been aware of people going, doing interviews and trying to talk about and doing punditry and commentary and all that stuff. This is something that was going to be big news. They knew this ahead of time, which makes me think that this was very, very, very quickly determined, and was potentially not something that was going to happen that week. But to give the whole timeline, I'm going to walk you through a whole bunch of events and a whole bunch of articles that have happened starting on February 24th, 2025. So last year, almost exactly a year ago.
Yes.
Now this is an article. So, like, I'm going to list a bunch of articles and a bunch of names. I've got all the links to all these because of my incredible thing, which if you want to hear about Obsidian, DM me. All these will be linked in the description, but I'm going to go through a bunch of articles really quickly. February 24th, 2025, headline from Video Games Chronicle. Microsoft CEO says Xbox will, quote, have a catalog of games using generative AI. So this was a conversation from Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft.
That one hurt the soul, just to hear you say out loud. That one hurts.
Yes, it does. So when this article came out, it was a conversation where, like, Satya Nadella was there talking about, like, he was spruiking AI, all this stuff. What he says here is, quote, it's just very cool. One thing that we wanted to go after was using gameplay data. You can actually generate games that are both consistent and then have the ability to generate the diversity of what the game represents and then are persistent to user mods, right? So that's what this is, he told Dorkish Podcast. Quote, the cool thing is, what I'm excited about is we're going to have a catalog of games soon that will start using these models, or we're going to train these models to generate and then start playing them. Like, some of this quote's a little bit broken because it was part of an interview. So like bear with me if the quote doesn't make sense fully. It was not a written quote. Spoken. It was a spoken quote. In fact, when Phil Spencer first showed it to me, where he had an Xbox controller and this model basically took the input and generated the output based on the input, and it was consistent within the game. And that to me is a massive, massive moment of, wow, it's kind of like the first time we saw ChatGPT complete sentences, or Dolly, or Dolly Draw, or Sora. This is kind of one such moment. I'm not bringing this up because I think that this is going to start happening to Xbox games, but it is important context for two things. One, it is the important context to the current new CEO of Xbox, but also it is important to the context of Microsoft as a whole right now. And
what their leadership finds exciting and what they're pushing for.
Yes. It is all about everything needs to be an AI platform now, because AI platforms get venture capital, and venture capital is the only place there is money at the moment, and there is no money in consumer hardware. When CES happened a few months ago, everyone was like, wow, sure is nothing consumer at the Consumer Electronics Show, huh? This was the beginnings of, well, not the beginnings of this, because it's been going on for a while, but this was the beginning of people, large companies moving away from consumer-facing things and moving towards everything now must be an AI product in the tech space for there to be investment. Jumping ahead, 2nd of July, 2025, from Tom Warren and Jay Peters over at The Verge, Phil Spencer isn't retiring as chief of Xbox, quote, anytime soon.
What date was this again?
2nd of July, 2025.
Okay, so this is just after their E3 presentation.
Yes, I don't remember exactly when that was.
That was June.
I don't remember if they moved it or not. Phil Spencer is not retiring. Phil Spencer is not retiring anytime soon, says Kare Perez, head of Xbox Communications, in a statement to The Verge. The denial comes after, not important. Phil Spencer will be retiring from his role as CEO of Microsoft Gaming after the launch of the next Xbox, and that Xbox president Sarah Bond would be taking over as CEO of gaming, is what is reported here in The Verge. Now, that last little bit there was more of a, like, there was a leaked report from, like, some Call of Duty leaker that was going to be the plan. I don't think that that's a real leak. Like, it was not really a thing that was corroborated, and I don't think really made a whole lot of sense at that point. The plans for him to retire after the next Xbox was probably in some conversation, but the idea of this one source having this kind of iffy, but it was enough that the head of Xbox Communications came out and said, Phil is not retiring anytime soon. This is July. Following that, October 23rd, 2025, Microsoft pushes Xbox division to hit a higher profit margin. Now, this is from Bloomberg, with Jason Schreier and Dina Bass. An Xbox spokesperson said in a statement that they take a long-term view of their business and that success, quote, doesn't look the same across every project or priority. Quote, we look at the business as a whole and balancing creativity, innovation, and sustainability across a diverse portfolio of offerings, the spokesperson said. As with any creative business, sometimes that means making hard decisions and stopping work on things that are no longer working for a variety of reasons and shifting resources towards the projects that are more aligned with our direction and priorities. Now, this article will be memorable to you, Kerry, because this was the one where we heard that Xbox were pushing a 30% target of profitability on, like, a profit margin. What is the fucking thing? EBITDA, which stands for
EBITDA.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, which is profitability. So money after costs, basically. 30% was their target, which was a thing in October of late last year.
That's huge.
And they also include a graph in this article, which is very useful, which is sourced from S&P Global Market Intelligence, which has a trend line from 2018 to 2024, which talks about the video game industry average margin and Xbox's new target. That margin, that video game industry average margin, sits at just over 20% until 2022, and then dips to about probably 18 to 16% between 2023 2024. And then
so not only are profits down,
yes,
in general over the last 5 years,
yes,
but Microsoft is now asking to double the average,
yes,
more or less, of what is currently likely to be received by game developers and publishers for games released.
Yes.
On the whole.
Yes. Jumping further ahead.
I mean, it's just like they need to say, it's like they're trying to say to all their teams, like, you need to make Fortnite money or else.
Mm-hmm. Jumping further ahead. 28th of January this year. From an article on Kotaku from Ethan Gatch titled Xbox hardware is still falling. Quote here, Xbox content and services revenue declined 5%, down 6% CC, which I believe is, I don't know, down 6%. On a prior, Xbox content and services revenue declined 5% on a down 6% on a prior year's comparable that benefited from a strong first-party content performance, reads the company's latest earning presentation.
So their first-party software profits were down, or sales were down.
Yes. Xbox hardware revenue declined 32%.
Whoa.
And
Nelly.
And last year's numbers weren't exactly stellar. The gaming division saw a 7% decline overall in the second quarter. Xbox hardware was down 29% this time in 2025, which was January 2025, while content and services were only up 2% last time. Holiday 2024 had Indiana Jones: The Great Circle and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, but was otherwise quite quiet. So their content was up Q1 2024, calendar 2024. Hardware was down 29%. Hardware was down 32% the beginning of this year.
That's a huge number. That's so big.
Yes, it is.
Something to keep in mind as well. I think a lot of consoles went through a big price update last year in the wake of Trump's tariffs. Xbox especially. In
America only, but yes.
Yeah. So Series S consoles, this is in USD, they both went up $20 each to the different size hard drive models. And then the Xbox Series X models went up $50, and then the limited edition 2 terabyte version went up $70. So all those consoles that had maybe seen like a slight reduction in cost, and then I think their prices had been raised at some point during the year already, because they were already sitting above the launch price, because I think the Series X launched at 500, didn't it?
Oh, I don't remember. It was the
I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was 300 and 500 for the Series S and Series X at launch in USD. And this listing of the prices going up, which went into effect in October, already has the Series X digital starting at $549 and going up to $600, and the Series X with the disk drive starting at $600 and going to $650. So that's $150 more than it was at launch to buy a Series X. And then they raised all the Game Pass prices as well.
and this is also pre RAM shortage numbers as well,
Yes.
which we haven't seen impact the console market yet.
Yes,
it will,
not too directly.
But,
it is coming,
but like not quite yet. So that was 20th of January. 3rd of February this year. So we're getting right up close now.
Yeah, this is about a month ago.
3rd of February, AMD hints that Microsoft could launch its next-gen Xbox in 2027. This is Tom Warren again from The Verge. Development of Microsoft's next Xbox featuring an AMD semi-custom SoC. Do you know what an SoC is?
I believe it's system on chip, which is more or less, it's what consoles get from AMD, which is their bespoke chip system architecture, where it's a lot of the processing power is done through a combined processing unit that handles a lot of the graphics and the processing, rather than like what you see with computers where you have discrete GPUs and then a discrete CPU.
Gotcha. Featuring an AMD semi-custom SoC, is progressing well to support a launch 2027, says AMD CEO Lisa Su on an earnings call today. Today being, again, 3rd of February earlier this year. The brief comment doesn't confirm Microsoft will launch a new Xbox in 2027, but does reveal that AMD is ready to support a launch if Microsoft is also ready. Microsoft entered a strategic multi-year partnership.
They decided to say that. Sorry to jump in there, but that's fascinating. They decided to say that.
Like part of that is probably to like just share upcoming plans and roadmaps and stuff for where development is going to be and where manufacturing is going to be, so that they can know that investors aren't going, well, like you don't have anything planned. They can say like, oh, you know, but it's like realistically, like this is actually just to specifically mention that as per the article, Microsoft entered a strategic multi-year partnership with AMD last year that includes the pair of co-engineering that includes the pair co-engineering silicon, quote, across a portfolio of devices, including our next-generation Xbox consoles in your living room and in your hands. AMD and Microsoft also working together to build the next generation of Xbox cloud gaming servers as well. So it's them just talking about their partnership, talking about like, hey, like, we're ready to launch a new Xbox as of next calendar year when they're ready. Again, like it doesn't mean that that's when the next Xbox is coming, but it's like, it's just a part of their ongoing partnership. But looks like this is in the works, at least. They're ready for that to be a realistic pipeline. They wouldn't be doing that if they knew Microsoft weren't wanting to do it until 2028. But it looks like there are plans still for that to be a potentiality. So they're ready for that when it happens. Then the 20th of February 2026 is when Phil Spencer announces he is retiring. Sarah Bond announces that she is leaving. Matt Booty is promoted as the Microsoft AI as Matt Booty's promoted. So I'm reading the headline of an article. Matt Booty's promoted, and Microsoft AI executive Asha Sharma is named new Xbox boss. That's an article from IGN from Ryan McCaffrey. Spencer's retirement is effective on Monday, February 23rd. Meanwhile, Xbox president Sarah Bond, long thought by many to be both inside and outside of Microsoft to be Spencer's heir apparent, has resigned. The new CEO of Microsoft Gaming will be Asha Sharma, currently the president of Microsoft's Core AI product. And finally, Xbox Game Studio head Matt Booty is being promoted to the Chief Content Officer and will work closely with Sharma. That's from Ryan. That was when the news hit. It was surprising.
It was stunning.
But it kind of makes a little bit more sense when you look at part of these things. More sense when you look at the problems that Xbox has been facing. They don't look like they're going away anytime soon.
No. Yeah, Xbox has been in a really weird spot this generation. I mean, I'm of the opinion more and more that this whole generation has been cursed by global events, by poor management, by the economy being completely upturned through COVID and chip shortages and all of this stuff. And Xbox is no they're not immune to that.
No.
But
no one is immune.
No, exactly. And they've been trying to chart their own course through this generation where their hardware sales haven't been spectacular. Their first party offering has been sometimes great, but sometimes pretty middling, with Halo Infinite compared to Forza Horizon, for example. And then you see this is an Xbox campaign where they're pushing hard on Game Pass and streaming, where it's It's not about the box. You can play Xbox anywhere on anything. You can play it on your fridge. You can play it on your phone. You can play it on your in-screen device on the back of a plane. I don't think I said that, but like that's kind of what they were aiming for. They were like, it's not about the box anymore. It's about the ecosystem. It's only about the ecosystem. But we also saw at the same time that Game Pass subscriptions had plateaued. We saw that, and again, that their hardware was poorly, was not picking up, and they didn't sell heaps and heaps of units. They haven't really described how many they've sold this generation, which is classic Microsoft speak for we're not doing great, so we don't want to talk about it. And then I don't know. We've been looking at what they've been saying for the last like 12, 18, 24 months as they've been raising prices, as they've been trying to keep moving and stay afloat. It hasn't looked great.
No, and like it is like we've seen recently a shift where, you know, the idea that you know, like we'll get to this as an Xbox in a moment when we talk a little bit more about Sarah Bond, but the idea that these platforms, both Xbox and PlayStation, are ready to support their audience, these core gamers, wherever, like to support them playing their game wherever they wish, seems to have been a thing that they were both ready to do, and at the moment now they are now not ready to do that. They've axed the everything is an Xbox campaign over at Microsoft. There was an article that was posted like a week and a half ago, which talks about how Jason Schreier mentioned on his podcast that he was getting the sense that Sony have been backing away from doing PC ports of their games, and that most of the, if not all of the games that had PC ports in development that are upcoming have been canned. So that includes Saros, that includes
I think it was
Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
And the PC ports that they were planning on doing, they've not been seeing the return on those, and they are going to start to not do those and only allow them to be played on PlayStation. Only allow them to be played on PlayStation. The idea that like the people that sell the box are allowing you to be like play it without the box that I sell was it made sense in a different world, but not in a world where they need year-on-year growth. And I think that they've both actually just been struggling. Like the reason they did that is because they knew that the slate of games that they were both releasing, that they had control over where they wouldn't be able to be released, where they would and wouldn't be able to be released, was kind of slim and but also sparse. Like there was a lot of time in between releases. They needed those middle releases of it's on PC now, or it's on Game Pass now, or it's coming to my competitor now, to sort of spread out their release schedule. And now they don't even necessarily need that anymore. You know, like I remember the weird conversation that Phil Spencer had ages ago when he was talking about, like we will put Indiana Jones on PS5 and stuff like, like The Last of Us games, like they're going to come to PC. Ghost of Yotei is going to Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC. People were going, cool. Like I don't have a lot of money at the moment. I can wait. Like I don't need to go out and buy the $700 more box to play those games when I can't actually afford to do that anyway. So I'm just going to wait until I can afford it on a platform I've already got. It makes sense that it didn't work. Those strategies work when people can afford to buy the games whenever they want and are comfortable doing that. Not when they weren't planning on getting it anyway because they couldn't afford it.
It was still so like their strategies have all been quite strange, and this is sort of a backpedaling that we've seen.
Yes.
It was still very shocking to me.
Oh,
that
yes.
Phil is retiring.
Yes.
And that Bond is just out. I guess probably internalized in some sense those interviews you read up before, where they said Phil's not going anywhere anytime soon. Going till the end of the next console, because they got to a point like 12 or 18 months ago, people were calling for Phil's head because of mismanagement or whatever, just general underperformance from Xbox's side. And they're like, no, he's here to stay. But it's fascinating to me that not only have they decided at Microsoft to say, look, whatever we've been trying, it isn't working, we need to change direction. They didn't just tell Phil and Sarah to like shape up and do something different now or else. They booted them. It doesn't. They've got these lovely PR sentences. Maybe it was as lovey-dovey as ever, and they said, okay, fine, we'll step away. That's fine. But it really looks from the outside like Microsoft said, this isn't good enough. You're out.
Oh, see, I don't think it was that. Like, I think that this was Phil going, like, I'm gonna leave now before I've got a blemish, or I've got a major blemish that is failing to meet expectations, being provided an ultimatum. Like, I think it didn't get there yet, which is why I think this happened so soon. I think this was the decision made by Phil, and the Sarah thing I think is a little bit, there's more to it than that. But like, I think that this was an internal thing where there was conversations around like ROI, those conversations around like growth and finances, and Phil would have obviously been looking at what has now been revealed to as Project Helix, which is the next iteration of the console hardware, and has gone, I can't make this work. Why would I stick around for a ship that I know is going to sink and I know is not going to look really good when I can leave now and maybe get another executive, CEO job somewhere else? Because at the moment, what Phil is leaving behind, on like that executives care about, will start, is conducted one of the biggest acquisitions in games history.
Mm-hmm.
Steered,
turned around the awful situation of the Xbox One launch.
Yes. Picked up and solidified like a lot of first party studios which have a good track record even if they are struggling at the moment, and was able to sort of launch Xbox Game Pass, which is like still probably been the most successful games subscription in the industry. Yep. This is only executive speak. These are not my actual thoughts. But these are, if you on paper, he can look at the next iteration of consoles and go, this ain't gonna fly. We're in the middle of a RAM crisis. We're in the middle of this AI like hell that all tech companies are pushing, and none of it is working.
Especially Microsoft.
And I don't know what Microsoft looks like when the bubble bursts. I can leave now with a pretty positive resume and not have this failure put on me, if it is so a failure.
I think that's fair. And, maybe they work this out together, like Phil and Nadella together. Like maybe Nadella's saying, hey, look, we need to change tack. And he was like, look, if we're going to do this, I think now's a good time for me to go.
Well,
I wonder if it looks...
Phil says in his statement, and like, I don't know if this is true or not. This is what Phil says. In his email to Microsoft, this is from the IGN article. Spencer, in his email to Microsoft staff, said in part, last fall, I shared with Satya that I was looking about stepping back and starting the next chapter in my life. From that moment, we aligned on approaching this transition with attention, ensuring stability, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of corporate, everything's going to be really great speak. It's been a vibrant community of players, creators, and teams, and it deserves a thoughtful and deliberate plan for the road ahead. That's sort of a paraphrase, but like he mentions in this interview that he started to have conversations with Satya last, that would have been autumn, so that would have been our winter. So like it
would have been our spring. So it would have been like...
Sorry, yes. Yeah.
So it would have been like September, October, November.
Yeah. So after the rumor that Bond was going to take over, which I still don't necessarily believe, but leading into this article from October last year, which talks about them pushing for a 30% growth margin as a baseline, as a target rather. I think that do I think that he told Satya last year that he was planning on leaving? Yes. Do I think he said it in these terms? No. I think it was probably in response to these new targets. and this is, you know, entirely speculation on my part, but I think that that was part of the reason where he was like, I think what this is going to do for us is going to be too unsustainable, and we're not going to be able to reach those numbers. Therefore, I might be leaving at some point. That's how I think that went down. And I think that there probably was potentially some, like, there was probably some bureaucracy inside of it, as there always is in companies like this. There's always, you know, people have got, you know, favorites and people in your camp and people in their camp and stuff. And you know, with something as so, you know, controversial, we'll say, as AI inside of a company like Microsoft, especially a division like Xbox, which is by and large not something that benefits from AI, even in like the mind of someone who is AI pilled. You know, to bring in someone like Asha Sharma, who used to run Core AI, which is a Microsoft initiative to bring AI into the more developer side of Microsoft's workspace. Place like the .NET architecture is now a part of Core AI. Someone who used to run that coming in, I reckon that's probably when Sarah Bond looked around being like, hey, like, these aren't my people. Like, I'm not going to do well here when I came up under the sort of the Phil Spencer crew of people. And my last initiative, This Is Xbox, did not do very well and was really quite, like not abrasive, but people really kind of reacted quite negative to it when they didn't know if the console was going to like continue or not. I don't think this is a good spot for me either. And so, like, I think it also makes complete sense that Sarah Bond leaving in her statement, which I don't have here, but I've read it, doesn't mention Matt Booty. And Matt Booty does also not mention Sarah Bond.
Really?
Yeah. They don't refer to each other.
It was surprising when the announcement happened on the Friday that we didn't hear anything about Sarah Bond. What we heard about Sarah Bond was from internal sources, but it was not from the public release.
Yeah, it was Phil Spencer's memo was the only place Sarah Bond was really mentioned from a person.
Yes. Yes, the internal memo that got leaked.
And these two people leaving together, and for one of them to recognize you know, Sarah, it's the only person that's leaving. I think that sort of says it, where it's like there's a reason she was leaving, and it was because that, like, she was part of Phil's, you know, crew.
Yeah. She did, her thing posted a couple of days later, still on the weekend. But yeah, it was very odd that she was sort of absent from Nadella's statement and from Satya's statement, and even from Phil's statement, like publicly. Like, she's been a big part of for the front-facing leadership team of Xbox for at least 5 years now, if not longer.
Yes.
So it's yeah, that was strange. So the thing that gets me as well is, like, and the reason why I'm sort of on this, like, where I have this thought, and this is conjecture. This is me trying to make sense of a situation where we don't have all the details. So, you know, this is just me. Like, don't take this as anything except for my opinion. But, you know, looking at the pieces, and one of the reasons why I feel like there was some pressure here on Phil and on Sarah and on their strategy to change and to do something different and to shape up. Part of that is, like, I'm looking at this, even if, so let's say this statement of, I've been talking to Nadella since fall to work on a transition out of this role so I can go do something else. Part of me is wondering if, you know, there was some, like, hey, Phil, we need to change. We need to do something different. And if at some point they said, you know, I'm starting to wonder if they're about to walk back some of Xbox's most bold statements and decisions over the last 12 to 18 months. Maybe we're not going to see games release on PS5 going forward. Maybe we're not going to see as strong a push into Game Pass as we were seeing, and streaming, and all of the This Is an Xbox initiative that was calling for it. Like, walking back those things and being in charge when you both initiated those things and then walked them back, you're right, that is a blemish. And getting out before they reverse those things also means that the people walking them back are safe from the perspective that they fucked up. Oh, I didn't fuck up. That was the last guy.
Yeah.
That was old leadership, and they were doing something different. We're on the right path forward right now. So yes, it looks like we're backpedaling, but like this is this is actually a path forward. You just can't see it yet. Like,
yeah, like
that's what a big, huge shift like that enables them to both like spin a situation as, but also like withstand a sort of a PR nightmare against. Like,
I'm not saying that it was only a Spencer consideration, because it actually reminds me of a thing that funnily enough it was Jeff Gertzman talking about when he was let go of Giant Bomb the last time, where he was in a conversation with sort of the owners of the company at that time, and he was talking about how like he wasn't super happy with some of the decisions that were being put on them, and so he was like, it's like he in a podcast he mentioned that he was basically, yeah, like I'm thinking like I might leave soon, and their response was, why don't you leave now? And so maybe it would have been something like that, where it was like Spencer's like, I think I'm thinking of not sticking around for this because I don't think it's going to go well for me. And so then the decision might have been, yeah, now. So we can...
Right, let's pull the Band-Aid off.
Well, if you leave now, it'll be abrupt for you, but we can continue on and we can go straight into damage control and try and rebuild something earlier with more time.
And also, it is probably much better for Microsoft now to have a leadership team dedicated to whatever the plan is for a console launch, rather than get 18, 12, 6 months before the launch and then have someone leave. Like that would be an incredibly volatile time to shake up the company.
Which is really funny because like on top of everything else, I look at the campaign for this is an Xbox, which was very confusing for a lot of people.
Yes.
And I look at that and I'm like, oh, is it another one of those weird instances where they were just a little bit too early because the price of hardware is only skyrocketing, and if they can sell you their new games,
yes, on your old consoles that you don't have to throw out
through either AI generation upscaling, frame generation, even like some horrific AI front end like game runs in a back end type thing.
And even just streaming.
Even just streaming, exactly. Like, just playing it on an LG TV or whoever they had the deal with, like that makes a lot of sense. Like we remember the many conversations about that project, Keystone, whatever that.
Was that for their handheld?
No, it was their HDMI stick streaming solution.
Oh yeah, the streaming puck.
Yes. Where's that?
That was publicly canned at some point. Phil brought that up and was like, "Oh, we were developing it and it just wasn't viable."
Yeah, I wonder if they look at that now and they're like, "Fuck, we could use that right now."
Yeah, like maybe they don't have a Series S equivalent, but they have some streaming solution that's even cheaper than what they would offer for Series S. And then if you want the premium thing, here's this. I mean, everyone's talking about. I mean, this was Sarah Bond saying this, was talking about the next Xbox having a more premium PC feel, sort of akin to what Valve is suggesting with the Steam machine.
Yeah.
And that says a couple of things to me. It says price increase, and it also says premium. Well, I guess it's the same thing. Like due to the price increase, a premium product.
Yeah.
And so then you're immediately looking at less people buying it because it's less accessible. If they've got the far end of that spectrum of super accessible, get in with whatever you want, all you need is an HDMI port and a controller, and play whatever you want at the best settings and tailor it and modify it and whatever, because we're Microsoft and we have PCs handled. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if they do go that way, they're not going to make that much money on just a little stick, on a little Chromecast. Like,
no, like not at all. There is more though. There's more here that is worth covering. So, 20th of February is when that happened. Australian dates and times. There was a thing that Sharma sort of, when she came in, she sort of like has this long statement about, the things that she wants to try and achieve and her plans and goals and stuff. I don't particularly think it's worth reading all of that, even in your own time, but there's a couple of things in there that I think are really specific that are worth bringing up, which is that she has these 3 commitments that she makes in here, which you can extrapolate like sort of words that come after that. But those 3 commitments are great games, which is like, yeah, okay. It is.
I mean, it's a good thing to say up front because they do need that, and they haven't always had it.
Look, it's true, but like that's the commitment that they've always had. Like this doesn't feel like a new.
You could just say that.
The third one is Future of Play, which is talking about like, different locations and different ways people can play. But the middle one that she mentions is the return of Xbox, which is funny because there was still speculation around that time that Asher was going to come in, so that Sharma was going to come in, and that the Xbox as a hardware platform was potentially not going to exist as a thing that we know it at the moment. I don't think that it will disappear. I think it will look a bit different, but like, between their deal with AMD and, everything we now know, obviously that's not the case. It is still going to continue in some way, shape or form.
Yes, they've officially announced Project Helix, which is their next console. So
yes. Yeah. So that was the 20th of Feb. 23rd of Feb, there was another article posted by Tom Warren at The Verge called Inside Microsoft's Big Xbox Leadership Shakeup. This article is, just to editorialize a little bit, I find this article really complicated and I don't actually particularly agree with a lot of it. There's a tremendous amount of people who are quoted in it who share their feelings on the previous leadership and the new leadership, and they talk about Sarah Bond a fair bit and about how many people had issues with her reportedly inside of Microsoft. It's a bit much, I think. And I also think that it's very easy to get people talking about things the moment someone leaves the room. I don't necessarily think that if, Asher Sharma comes in and Matt Booty is, the two, like the two mum and dads in the building, that everybody's going to start, pouring out of the woodwork about how annoyed they are at these two people that are incoming. And I think the article does an unfortunate job at framing Sarah Bond like a villain, when I think the answer is honestly just a lot more complicated than that. But it is worth mentioning that the article says only Phil Spencer mentioned Sarah Bond, Satya Nadella, Microsoft Gaming EVP Matt Booty, and new Microsoft Gaming CEO Asher Sharma all had kind words for Spencer, but no mention of Bond. Even Bond's own memo to her team didn't arrive until hours after the announcement and wasn't part of Microsoft's blog, like we mentioned earlier. Moving forward a few more days, 25th of February, there is an interview that is published on Windows Central with Asher Sharma by Jez Corden. I don't think that it's a very useful interview. I think that by and large it's a whole lot of spin, nearly nothing of substance is said. Aside from one article that stuck out to me and then was reported on Kotaku as well, which I'll read here from Jen Lennon at Kotaku. When advised about getting rid of game exclusives and whether or not that policy might be revised, she said, quote, "Right now, I need to learn candidly about the why of these decisions and what we were optimizing for and what the data says about the Xbox strategy today. That's the honest answer, and I'm looking at lifetime value, not just what happened in a previous moment or in short-term efficiencies and things like that." Then she says, which is maybe my favorite quote ever, "The plan's the plan until it's not the plan."
That's funny.
That is, I think, the only thing anyone can say about anything that they have plans for right now is the plan's the plan until it's not the plan. Asher isn't coming in. Matt Booty isn't coming in with these grand ideas of what Xbox can be. They are not there because they won some succession style vote in a room with two different versions of Microsoft that lay in front of Xbox.
Like visions for Xbox.
Yeah, this is not like, oh my God, I want to go down this route and Spencer wants to go down this route and everybody is trying to figure out which one is going to be better. No, that's not the case. Which I think lends to what we were saying about this was the decision that was made quite quickly. This wasn't Asher Sharma has this idea of what could be an Xbox. It is...
She's got plans of a plan.
She's got the plan until it's not the plan.
Yeah.
Like which look, like it makes complete sense in the way of like, yeah, like you want to have something going until you find out that's not the way to do it. Then you move a different way. Like that makes sense. But realistically, there's a lot of pretending going on that there is going to be a new everything that is going to come out of Xbox. And I think this Project Helix announcement is a part of it. On the 6th of March, there's an article here from Polygon, which is everything we know about Project Helix, the next Xbox console. from Ollie Welsh. Quote, Microsoft has formally announced its next generation Xbox console and given it a name, or at least a code name, Project Helix. Microsoft Gaming's new CEO, Ashish Sharma, confirmed that the new console will play, quote, Xbox and PC games, something that has been widely reported and strongly hinted by Microsoft itself, but not stated outright. Sharma also said that Project Helix will, quote, lead in performance, which is consistent with Microsoft's early characterization of the next Xbox as a very premium, very high-end device, as well as reports that it will outperform the next PlayStation, albeit at a higher price, which lends itself much more to what you were saying earlier. Although there was scant new information in the announcement, by formalizing the code name, Sharma is moving quickly to reassure fans and underline Microsoft's commitment to no Xbox hardware. She said that she would discuss the console with partners at the Game Developers Conference, which is GDC, where there will be a presentation titled Building for the Future with Xbox. And then according to a comment from the CEO of chip supplier AMD, as well as the most recent report from Windows Central's Jez Corden, Project Helix is a tentative scheduled for a late 2027 release date, which goes back to that other article that I mentioned earlier.
That lines up with their announcement. We'll probably see it for the first time in December, January, February, and then the whole pre-launch cycle will start next year for this thing.
And
you and I spoke at length last time on the podcast how we think it is far too early to talk about next gen, but also big publishers and manufacturers want that boost of new hardware sales right now. Like, you can't deny the fact that a new console gets money in the door, and they're gonna feel like they need that now more than ever, even if consumers aren't ready for it.
Which is funny because I don't think that it will be money in the door as much as it was in the past. I think that
I agree.
It's going to be too expensive for people to just pick up. They're going to feel like the one they've already bought is going to be well enough. And any publisher that goes all in on the next generation of hardware is going to be taking a massive risk on a much smaller amount of people. The Switch 2 has sold tremendous already, but they almost didn't because of tariffs, and they came out just before all of these massive price increases to, for RAM, for graphics, for processing power. They are in a very unique position at the moment and on top of that, they announced the other day that Nintendo is suing the government of America for the tariffs. This is the story of the Switch 2 has not ended yet in its hardware sales at the moment.
No, definitely not.
So I don't think that this next generation of Xbox or generation of PlayStation, because we know that we're hearing some reports about that as well, they are not going to be a surefire hit.
They're probably pushing rather than engaging and starting the whole cycle.
Well, but I think they're pushing because they were planning on having it next year. I don't think that the next Xbox comes out next year. I think this announcement is a really early, let's distract away from the fact that Phil Spencer decided to retire very, very quickly and Sarah Bond even quicker.
Yeah.
And we've got a new face and we've got a new console coming out. Remember how long they announced...
They're getting away from this as an Xbox. They're getting away from Xbox games that are coming out on PS5. This is Sharma and Booty's first step forward.
Do you remember how long we knew about the Xbox Series before it was released? It was fucking ages. We saw it.
It was, yeah.
We saw a picture of it.
They had a trailer for it at the Game Awards in 2019.
Yeah, with Hellblade 2. It was such a really, really early thing. I don't think that they have any problems announcing this really early because, of course, there's going to be another one. But I think that they are going to pretend like it's going to come a lot sooner than what it is. But I think they just realistically can't release it in a market and know that they're going to get the money out of it. They're already preparing for this premium price point. Well, they're already preparing the user base for a premium price point. I think that they're not going to have the same levels of success as they usually would.
Totally. And, just looking at the trajectory of their previous consoles, you've got the 360 which was out and out a success, aside from the Red Ring of Death. Even though it just barely ended up underselling the PS3, that's because the PS3 had such a bad launch. But the 360 was such a success. It defined that generation. The one was a complete flop at launch, and they rallied, and again, that was partly due to Phil Spencer's strategy and how he tackled that whole situation. The series generation, I feel, and this could be said of the PS5 to some extent, although that I think has been profitable nonetheless by comparison. more profitable at least, that this generation has been a bit lackluster. It hasn't been particularly impressive in terms of what could be achieved with this new hardware and what can be looked forward to with that you can only do on these consoles, and what are these games that you can only buy on these consoles. Part of that's because they had this whole like one Xbox strategy where like the UI looked entirely the same, and they sold on all the console like it was like the one copy you bought for Xbox One or Series, and so they were so similar for so long. But when you look at defining a generation, failing, and then just kind of treading water, like it's like I look at that sort of series of releases, and it's hard for me to look at the future of Xbox's hardware when we know so little about it, but what it could potentially be, and be excited. It's not like I sit here and go, oh, the next Halo, that could be exciting, because Halo's been chasing its own tail for the last generation and a half. We don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Gears is there, but we don't know ever really how much it's ever going to sell and do well. Like 5 was good, but 5 was great critically, but I don't think it necessarily did that well with the public in terms of how many people bought and played it. Forza is one of their best, most reliable things, but outside of that, it's really hard to look at anything and go, okay, this is also going to stand toe to toe with Forza and sustain the platform. Like,
what it does
what is there
mean
to be excited about for a new Xbox? I just don't really know.
Well, like in an insane turn of events, if they do start to move away from like allowing their games to be put on all platforms, it means that the PS5 or the PS6 won't have the next Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, if they do a full hard pivot, that's true. That's true. And they like I mean, they tried to pull that lever with Starfield, but then Starfield was Starfield. It wasn't Elder Scrolls. So it kind of backfired on them in the end, I think. But
like that's their next big lever they can pull, that they set up 6 years ago when they bought Activision, less than that, like a handful of years ago when they bought Activision Blizzard King, was those games that we had a long conversations about whether or not like Starfield was going to be put on, PS5 or not, if it was going to be multi-plat, same with, whatever the next Fallout was going to be. And like we like to think about Deathloop as this really funny thing where it was published by PlayStation by an Xbox-owned studio. And didn't come to Xbox for a year later because of old deals they had to do. Like, they will be able to look at Elder Scrolls 6, which is now in development actively, because Starfield is sort of coming to a close, as like, yeah, like they can probably swing that as a thing that will get people to buy that hardware if they don't have a good PC, which a lot of people don't have a good PC or really want to be involved in that. And even then, they still might. Actually, no, they won't, because of what they've said here. But I was like, like the idea that the next Xbox will also play PC games, I think also means that they're going to start looking at this as more like a further unified platform. And so probably Bethesda are just doing the PC version of Elder Scrolls, which is played on both.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't even like the idea of them doing a PS5 version is probably actually more work now, like tangibly more work, if they're building one version of that game, which is a personal computer executable file that can work on an Xbox. It's a bizarre future for them to be in, but it's one that is
by the same token, I feel like that would be the difference between Bethesda Game Studios making a 30% profit or not, whether they released it on PlayStation or not. You know what I mean? Like they would be losing millions of copies sold by not doing that. And they know that from Starfield.
Well,
not that Starfield is the same, but
I don't think Starfield is the same. I think that the next Skyrim, we'll call it, is one of those few games that will sell a console.
That's true.
Like I think there are very few of those left. But I think, like the next Breath of the Wild, the next Starfield, there's
Next 3D Mario game, maybe.
but like even then, like I don't know if that like that's an exciting thing for a lot of people to buy a console for. But they're like people who are excited for the next 3D Mario are excited because that's a new Nintendo that they can then get a whole bunch of Nintendo games on, as opposed to like Metroid, which is like people who don't play games play Skyrim. People who don't play games play Breath of the Wild. Some people who don't play games play Mario, but they pick it up because they're buying a console to play Zelda with.
True. Mario's got a surprising amount of like strong popularity. Like it's not for nothing. It's not entirely incidental. There are people who go, "Oh man, I love playing every Mario game. I can't wait to play this one."
Yeah. Animal Crossing sells consoles more so than I think 3D Mario does. But that's because I think
I would love to see the data on that.
So would I.
We're never going to see that
until
the day we die.
No. But like I think like outside of the Nintendo games, there are very few games that you can sell a console on, and I think that like the next Elden Ring, the next Skyrim, and Fallout, I think probably still could if they announced Fallout 5 and not like a 76-second one.
Yeah, that's not happening before Elder Scrolls 6, though.
No, definitely not. Yeah, like I think that's the lever they can pull. But yeah, like it's a really weird spot. Like I don't know, like the whatever Helix ends up in the end, which is just sounding just like a PC. It's just kind of going to be another one. And we're probably just in that stage now. Like, I think that consoles are just going to move to the iPhone model or the MacBook model or the iPad model. It's just like, they're just going to be iterative. They can't afford to make everything exclusive to the next one because it's too much money for people to spend. And so they're going to have to still back support old ones. You know, like we're going to see PS5 support and Xbox Series support for a long time. In the same way, we're still going to see Switch 1 support for a lot of games. We're just not going to see it nearly as much because the Switch 1 was already like struggling in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But like the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, they're going fine for power. We haven't tapped those consoles yet. We've tapped those consoles in AAA markets where they're at crunch time for like since day dot, and they don't have any budget for optimization. And so they're fucked on these incredibly unoptimized games that rely on brute forcing the hardware. And you see that when the PC port comes through and it runs like ass because they were targeting one specific spec, which was above that. Like it's the only place in the world where people go, yeah, I really wish the PS5 had more, graphics power. It's like, brother, have you seen Alan Wake? Like, you're not making anywhere close to that. Like, it's fine. Like look at Control 2. My goodness.
Yep. Look at Death Stranding 2. I mean, everyone's been saying it, and we haven't even had the time and space to talk about Blue Point today because we've had too many other things to talk about. But the same week this was all announced, Blue Point was shut down, which I'm gutted about. I'm absolutely like it. It's baffling. And it's an indictment against Sony that's how that played out. But the reason I bring them up is because their last game, Demon's Souls, a launch title for the PS5, is still one of the best looking games I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's like we haven't seen really anyone match it. Like until more recently with, as you said, Alan Wake 2 is a great example of a game that is optimized, looks excellent, does its best on console. Same with Death Stranding 2. It looks terrific. Like we're only just now starting to see that stuff, and we're already talking about next gen. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, we said this in our last episode, and we're saying it now. Like the current consoles, they've got more room to go. I just don't think we're not going to get to the end of that before the big companies decide they need that next influx of new users and monetizing the current user base by making them buy a new box and all that stuff. It's just, if Microsoft are going to do this as soon as they've said they are, and as you said, they probably won't even, but if they are going to do it as soon as they've said they will, they're going to need some incredible games to back them up. And while I love all of the studios they've acquired and that they support, in terms of what they want to work on and how they want to do it. Like I'm always rooting for the devs, and I'm always rooting for their projects to be successful and to be the vision of what they want. But Xbox Game Studios, like a game that is coming out under that banner is not an immediate sale for me. It is not a seal of approval. It is not a sign of quality in the same way that you could get excited about an Annapurna game, or the same way, maybe a bit less now in recent years, but say five years ago or in the middle of the PS4 generation, whenever you'd see PlayStation Studios pop up, that would be, okay, great. I know I'm going to get a great first party single player experience. Like, Xbox Game Studios, unfortunately, has not attained that prestige because they have not reliably released games that people can get excited about.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nintendo games mean something to Nintendo consoles.
Yes.
PlayStation's in a whatever, but like, yeah, like the when they moved that PlayStation Studios umbrella and they did their like,
they did their Marvel Studios
their
logo,
corny ass fucking like studio with the, I'm like, give me a break. I see it every time I load up like Marathon, and I'm like, you must be fucking kidding me. They like the idea of them being a prestige studio was a part of their identity for a very long time, until the quality of their games started to drop and they realized that, like, well, it's really hard to be a prestige studio when we're feeding you kind of rubbish a lot.
And also when we're making all of these single player studios release multiplayer games.
And Marvel went through the same thing, you know, like Marvel, like that opening for a long time would set the tone for what you were going to see, which was an MCU film, which a lot of people had a tremendous amount of excitement for. And I feel like a lot of people haven't seen that in a long time, and they're going to be whiplashed to seeing that when they see Doomsday later this year. And there's a whole bunch of characters. Huh?
I bet they make a new one.
Well, it's always a new one, but like...
No, but I bet they make a proper new one.
Nah, you know how much money they spent on that?
Yeah, but that was like 10, 15 years ago. And they're going to want to signal to the audience, hey, this is the next chapter.
That was a really funny thing where James Gunn was asked, are you going to do that for... Like, he said, can we do that for my new DC studio? And someone's like, yeah, all right. Like, do you want to know how much Marvel paid for it? And they told him, and he went, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I mean, I'm going to continue to watch Xbox with skepticism and great keen interest. But God, I wish they were kicking goals more than they are. Again, just from that perspective of like wishing well for the devs and for the industry. I think a healthy Xbox would be good for the industry in general. It's just I haven't seen a healthy Xbox, like broadly speaking, since 2012.
and we're not going to see that. Like I flatly don't believe we're going to see that. Like, Asher Sharma coming from the head of Core AI is not a good sign, because Microsoft's AI, like fetish is one of the biggest problems in the tech world at the moment. The amount that they're spending on companies like NVIDIA, the amount of money they have funding from all this circular financing from OpenAI to make Copilot in everything is horrific. Their ongoing they're like all of their tech being ongoing support and customers of Israel is horrific and reprehensible. Like Asher Sharma being an AI person, from an AI department coming in when Microsoft is trying to put AI in everything, including their next Xbox, which is maybe the one area they've not been able to fundamentally attach AI properly, is terrifying for that platform. I don't think Phil Spencer has been a very positive force for the games industry, and all of the placating from most people in the industry about him as a person did my fucking head in, because the amount of horrific things that have happened under his reign on the games industry, I think, is really bad. And just because he's leaving doesn't mean you have to ignore that stuff. But I don't think the new people coming in are going to fix any of that. Like, they seem to be firmly on board with making the console further to what Microsoft wants it to be. In which case, if Phil Spencer looked at what that was and goes, I can't do it, I don't believe people that were born and bred out of part of the problems that Microsoft are trying to bring in are the ones that are going to make it work. Like, there's a fundamental problem with all of the like new things that Microsoft have been trying to put in, that is Xbox have managed to duck and weave and avoid up until now, but it doesn't work. Like, making that an AI console having Copilot in there, making it a part of the search or allowing you to, you know, like respond to people with AI or chat to whatever the fuck. Like, it's not going to be a fundamentally positive experience for the user because they don't want it. That's why VC is leaving AI as like bad money after good. And it's
like coming out of CES where like people like Lenovo are saying like, yeah, consumers just don't care about AI branding. Like we've had all our laptops branded as like a ThinkPad AI Plus or whatever, and it just hasn't helped. We're gonna stop doing that.
Yeah. It's like, how does Helix come out in any way, shape, or form with something that people are going to want to adopt?
Yeah. Yep, I agree. As you've mentioned it, you know, Sharma's AI stuff, it is a little bit mentioned with her integration into this new role. Where part of her initial thing, she said, it included a pledge to, quote, not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop, which was interesting. Like, it was interesting that was called out in that way. And then another part of that was in a different interview to Variety, she said, AI has long been part of gaming and will continue to be, mentioning the need for gaming, quote, growth engines, but that, quote, great stories are created by humans, which is like, it's not much. It's
I love growth
not much
engines.
of anything. Yeah, growth engines, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not, it doesn't feel good. I mean, it's good that she's said like, oh, we don't want like crap out there, but the thing is, like,
Satya does. Like Nutella, like Nadella loves Nadella loves it. Like, he's frothing at the mouth for it.
Yeah, like just in that article you read of him seeing that live AI games demo thing, where you and I hear that and we're like, oh my god, like shoot me in the head before I have to put thumb on sticks to play something like that. Like,
and not to give him an out, because Spencer was like, you know, exploring that actively, as every CEO under a company that, you know, is telling them to use AI does. Like, you have to do what the people that own your company tell you to do, own and run your company tell them to do. Like, that's just one of the rules. However, like, I don't particularly believe that Phil Spencer was the one that was the ones making Xbox dodge and weave away from like the AI laser site. I just think that it was just one of those things where it takes a long time for a platform like Xbox to adopt some of those technologies. And considering they were some of the biggest immediate victims of AI impacting the price of tech, it makes sense that they wouldn't then be trying to pick up some of the tech that is making them almost inoperable and unsellable in certain instances. So like, I can understand that being like a reason for them to be a bit like apprehensive of it. But like, it's just something that will like, the AI Grim Reaper will come and knock on this door eventually, and who is in charge of it, like, when it happens, is now going to be Asha Sharma.
Yeah.
Oh well. Like, you know, oh well.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest shame with all of this, like, it doesn't look great right now. And an Xbox that doesn't look great right now, what that really says to me is Xbox game studios are in trouble. Like, the studios themselves that have all found themselves bought and acquired and under the stewardship of this leadership team. I would be struggling to sleep at night if I were an employee of one of these studios now. And not to say that they should be, like, if they're sleeping great, then good. I hope you continue to do that. But like, I would struggle to feel secure in a position like this, knowing that our livelihoods were determined by the powers that be earning their billions of dollars a year personally. And they're just going to cut people left and right. Like PlayStation cut Bluepoint, like Microsoft cut Tango Gameworks, and culled after the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Like, it's the same story. They've watched their friends leave their desks and never come back, and it would be very hard right now, I think, to feel secure in that space, knowing that even if what you're working on looks promising, there's a good chance that budgets will change, RAM will be too expensive, consumer spending habits are going to be different for the foreseeable future, and that might mean your job. Like, that's a terrible place to be.
Yeah. And who did those acquisitions? The guy that's just ran for the door.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we didn't even talk about Blue Point today. Oh my god.
No.
You remember when that happened like 3 days before this and how heartbreaking that was?
You know that was their decision to work on a God of War live service game, I read?
Yeah, I read that too.
I also read that they wanted to do a Bloodborne remake, and then FromSoft said no. And I'm like,
yeah,
you know what? I can get it. I get it.
Yeah. Miyazaki's too busy and they don't want to be hands off, I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, like a lot of changes in Dark Souls for vibe sense. Sorry, Demon Souls. Demon Souls as a vibe sense from their remake, and so I get them looking at that going, nah.
Yeah. But could you imagine if they supervised? Which I don't think they did with Demon Souls.
Well, they don't. Yeah.
But they don't care. They don't want to do that.
No,
I don't think Miyazaki wants to look back. That's not his MO.
Well, I mean, they've remade Dark Souls 1.
Oh, barely.
Yeah, you know.
They made it so it was above 720p. Anyway, Blue Point closing is a net negative for the industry.
Yeah. Yes, and the fact that they couldn't get another thing off the ground. Anyway, we're talking about Blue Point. We don't have time talking about Blue Point. Yeah. Any other final thoughts, or is that it? We're calling it. What do they even call the next Xbox?
What was the? Tell me the things you were called when you betrayed those people in Marathon. give me a chaser for that awful shot of medicine.
I could not repeat them into a microphone. I was called various horrific words. Betrayed me. Cackle.
Into the open mic.
Cackling into the open mic.
God, I would be so. I would. That's the kind of thing that makes me leave a game like that and never come back.
You know how you have to you're in the little vortex for 10 seconds and it counts down?
Yeah.
I killed them in that.
Nice. But did you full kill them?
Yeah.
You rat. You bastard. So you didn't even get to loot them.
No, but that's because I didn't expect to be stuck in it. I expected to be able to dip out and loot and then go back in, but it slowed down my movement enough that I was then taken away. So I didn't even get to loot their stuff. I just didn't let them take it with them.
Oh my god, that's heinous.
Done that a few
True
times.
villain behavior.
Oh yeah. That brings us to the end of this episode of the MiniMapCast. Thank you very much for joining us. The best way to make sure you don't miss the next one, is to follow us on our socials at MiniMapAU and minimap.com.au on Blue Sky. You can also head to that very same URL to find absolutely everything else Minimap related, including the Minidisc podcast and Box of Scraps, a Marvel Studios history podcast. And finally, Minimap is completely independent and almost entirely self-funded. To help keep the lights and mics on, you can support us by becoming a patron. For only $5 a month, you can know that you are indeed supporting us, and there's a few fun videos over there as well. Patreon.com/MinimapAU to help us out. And remember, it's cheaper than a latte with oat milk. Kerry, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Blue Skies, where I am most active. That's at kjpalmer.bsky.social.
And you can find me on Blue Sky at jeremy.minimap.com.au and at Obi1Jez basically everywhere else. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
I'm gonna go cry.